Hello! It's raining. I don't know if you can hear that it's raining. It's a big rain sound. Big rain sounds. No, I think you can definitely hear it. Oh my god. Stop it, rain, stop it. Oh, okay. That works. I changed the noise thing. It should be better now. Yeah. But welcome! Today we're using Nightmare model. Nightmare model. I'm checking things in the meantime. We will wait a bit before we do whatchamacallits. And whatchamacallits. Blah blah blah. Oh my god, the rain is like super loud. It's like thundering. It's a big rain. Big rain bad. Oh, there we go. Rain's miraculously kind of stopped. Nice. Goes the rain. Oh no, it's coming back. The rain's coming back. Stop it. Stop it, rain. Oh my god.
My ear trumpet has been struck by lightning, gifted membership to the mongoose.
Oh my god, hello, my ear trumpets, Mr. Balan. Thank you for gifting the member. Mongoose god. Is it raining there for you too? I hope not. It's very loud here. Very loud. Hello, Briar. Hello! How you doing? You doing good? No rain tonight. I see. I saw the weather was looking pretty bad for the past for the whole afternoon, and then now it's like wow. But you had plenty of stuff to read. Nice. Unless you're talking about me, that I also have plenty of stuff to read. Waiting a little bit before. Actually, I could start the game first. I think we will do Heartless Lullaby first. It's not a reading one, I think. I think it'll read for. Like your word of darkness. Yeah! Fun! Fun time. Fun time. Maybe I'll do this later. Okay. Let me boot up one other game. Try Heartless Lullaby. Actually didn't look too much into this game because I wanted Professor. Hello! Hello, 𝑬𝒂𝒎. Oh wait, 𝑬𝒂𝒎 is here. Maybe we should do the werewolf. Just because that's the polling. I was gonna do the vampire one. But welcome, 𝑬𝒂𝒎. Let me do the other one. Maybe. I think the other one is longer anyway. I'll be here no matter. You are? Okay. I'm doing home office. Ah, I see. Nice. A nice home office time. Okay, then let me actually check the games real quick. Oh my god, it's lagging. What are you be lagging? Okay, there. You have any Vampire the Masquerade RPG books? I do not. I have them in PDF, but that's about it. So I have stream on separate laptop, the inspection protocols I'm working on. Nice dual laptop setup. Alright, maybe we'll play the werewolf. We'll play the werewolf. I know that one's definitely a read. Open it. Booting up the games. At my work, IT on just any computer user. Yeah, but he's at home. And he's using the home computer. Or another thing. My ears. Okay, ambient sounds volume, music volume. Very low. Text delay, low. Paragraph. Window mode on. Sorry, I'm adjusting the settings right now. Okay, visual quality. Better quality. Bang. Alright. Time to read. Okay, let's change this room. No, it's not Warhammer Vermintide 2. That's a different game. Alright, there we go. Werewolf Heart of the Forest. So basically, this is a prequel to the other game that we were doing the other time, the werewolf game. But this is a prequel. This is Heart of the Forest. I think it's also set in Poland. New game! I think it's much shorter. I think it should be like a couple hours. Or like an hour. Prologue. Premonition. Yeah, but it looks kind of the same. This is a game about rage and how it helps us do the things that need to be done as well as the things we later regret. Sometimes both. How do you feel about that? I'm always angry. So you're the inspired warrior type. That's okay. There's no right path here. Just your decisions and their consequences. Let's start. The forest. The woods are full of stars. They flicker, come closer, and run away. They want me to chase them, to play hide and seek. They dance around the tree trunks, float up on the gusts of wind that shiver through the branches, disappear among the leaves. I let out a howl, eager to run with them. I want everyone to know I'm there. Then they bunch up and fly toward me like an arrow. Rushing down, they're soon upon me. But just before the spear of light pierces my breast, they disappear and the dark of night returns. In the darkness, I feel the tangled roots of stories keeping the forest alive. When I finally catch the scent of the enemy, I jump forward. Actually, I should move myself to the other side. Pop, 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 pop. And then I wake up. As a werewolf been eating some magic mushrooms. All the magic mushrooms. All of them. Because mushrooms are tasty. Confused, I open my eyes. The forest around me is thick, dark, and reeks of decay to such an extent that it's hard to breathe. I recognize this forest. I know this place. I've been dreaming about this forest since I was a child. The tree trunks, wrapped tightly in dark-leaved ivy, are covered in ripples of lichen. Where the vines haven't taken hold, thorny, leafless bushes at their base are overrun with nettles. The fungi radiate with a ghoulish, sickly green light. Dark, sponge-like mushrooms cling to the fallen trees. Something is rotten. I can't shake the feeling that something died nearby. I look down to see my hands covered in a dark substance. Naked. A sticky, glistening film of liquid is clinging to my skin. I can feel it on my face, in my hair. Blood. What's happening? I have no idea what's happening, but stories start forming in my mind. Someone has drawn strange symbols on my skin in the drying blood. Was it me? There's a severed head right in front of me. Some choices are hard to make, and they strain your willpower. I'm gonna be sick. The face is contorted, the eyes bulging, the mouth open, the tongue stuck out. It's obscene. I feel bile rising in my throat and I start to retch. And then eyes open in the darkness. The enemy! I can see their silhouettes, shades of jet black against the darkness. They reek of metal and acid and oil and money. Massive creatures, some with mandibles, some with spidery legs. Their faceted eyes burn like small industrial furnaces. I look at them, and something wakes inside my chest. Rage! I throw my head in the direction of the shining eyes and launch myself into the air. My whole body sings with a rush of adrenaline. I descend and sink my teeth into the neck of a monster that was stupid enough to stand in my way. In a moment of clarity, I almost understand what the forest wants from me, and then I wake up. I hate it when you wake up to a severed head. Stinky heads. Arrival. Chapter 1. Maya, 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 wake up! I jerked upright, irritated. My neck was stiff, and the movement sent a sudden, sharp wave of discomfort through my body. I wasn't in the forest anymore. I was in a bus. The sun streaming through the windows was making it hard to see. The girl next to me was touching my shoulder, disturbed. Nutty? What happened? Overcoming the urge to push her away was hard. She looked at me, concerned. You were singing, I guess, in your sleep. I blinked. The memory of the dream was still there, and the overwhelming smell of the old forest. I looked outside. I must have bitten my lip, I thought, as I ran my tongue over my teeth. The forest outside the window was watching me. The girl next to me shook her head. Thank God, we're almost there. Her name was Anya. We'd met a couple of weeks earlier on the orientation day. She was from Norway, a tall, broad-shouldered, calm person who wore her long hair in braids. Somehow I'd managed to talk her into this crazy field trip across the land of my ancestors. She seemed excited. Anya reached into her backpack and took out 2 apples. I'm really happy we decided to come here, she said. Yeah, I said, offering her some of my... Okay, hold on. Google Translate. Let's go for Polish. cabanossi. Dried meaty sausages that were so much better than the original Polish ones back in the US. I was glad Anya had decided to come with me. I had problems keeping friends around and really needed one. I did some searching, she said from her over her phone. And this place is amazing. The last primordial forest in Europe. This trip was my idea. Our summer language course was starting in a few weeks, and I'd managed to talk Anya into skipping the tours of concentration camps and old churches and visiting Biało... Wait, Sorry, I need a refresher. 𝑬𝒊𝒏𝒂𝒔 National Park with me instead. So far, it's beautiful, she said, her eyes smiling. But why are we here again? Good question. Why were we there? There being 𝑬𝒊𝒏𝒂𝒔, a small village in northeast Poland near the border with Belarus. It was famous for its national park, the very last European bison, and according to a quick web search, occasional tensions between far-right troublemakers and the local Belarusian community. The most honest answer would have been, because I've been dreaming about the forest in 𝑬𝒊𝒏𝒂𝒔 since I can remember, but people didn't understand when I said things like that. I looked her in the eyes. I kept it simple so I wouldn't freak her out. I'm looking for my roots. I kept it simple because I wouldn't freak her out. What I didn't tell her was even more important. I knew my family was from there. None of my relatives spoke about it though. There were a lot of things that weren't spoken about in my life. Strange dreams that plagued me. I've forgotten tales about forests and wolves that I heard before my mom took me, ran away, and cut off all contact with my dad and his family. I waited for her to respond. Anya fell silent for a moment. I think it's great that you come from such a magical place, she smiled. The last ancient forest in Europe, thousands of years old. I wasn't sure if I was fond of that magic, but it was hard to ignore. And that was precisely why I needed to do something, anything about my future, that damn forest and my weird-ass family. I had a clear goal in mind. I wasn't there by mistake. I'd planned this trip for months, with a clear goal in mind. I had to learn the truth about my roots. My grandfather's stories, the secrets, my mother running away, there was a mystery in my past. It was time I uncovered the truth about who I was. But now I wasn't so sure if it'd been a good idea. 𝑬𝒊𝒏𝒂𝒔 looked like an overexposed photo of a village with the contrast turned all the way up. The sun wasn't just shining, it was shouting at the earth and everything. The trees, the grass, the wooden houses, the fences seemed weathered. Everything except the shadows. They were sharp, as though they were freshly printed with the darkest of inks. They moved. For a second I could have sworn they'd moved, but then I realized it was just a black cat walking down the sidewalk. When it saw me, it stopped in its tracks. I tried to pet the cat. Here, kitty kitty, I said, squatting and reaching toward the cat. In a flash, it swatted my hand away with its paw, drawing a few drops of blood. I yelped. Hey Maya, Anya said, looking at me surprised. Didn't you say your friend would be waiting for us? But he wasn't there, and the cat was still staring at me. Let's go, Anya put on her backpack. I'm tired and I really need to find a toilet. For a moment, I was tempted to just get out of the sun and worry about my missing friend later. I stormed off. Dang it, the kitty didn't let me pet him. I grabbed my backpack and started walking. I hate when people are late, I muttered under my breath. I was walking fast, and it took a while for Anya to catch up with me. 𝑬𝒊𝒏𝒂𝒔 had a few hotels and hostels, but the preferred form of accommodation was bed and breakfasts. That's where we stayed. I found one that was nice, clean, and had good reviews. Being angry all the time is not always good. But I'm just angry all the time. I can't help it. We had a room on the second floor with a huge window and a great view of the forest. We dropped off our stuff and freshened up a bit. Maybe we could have waited for your friend? Anya asked, concerned. I shrugged. I'll find him, sooner or later. Before you go, check out your character sheet, blah 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 blah, about Maya, her background person. Okay. Nothing I didn't already know, I guess. 𝑧𝒊𝒏𝒂𝒎 was a quaint tourist town, but I had other things in mind. I had a clear goal in mind. My family was entangled with this town and the forest. I had to uncover my roots. Anya went with you. Let's go to the forest straight away. I got an achievement for that. It was dark in the woods, dark, humid, and chilly. The leaves didn't let through a lot of the sunlight. Daniel looked at Anya and me over his shoulder. How do you like her? We'd met maybe 20 minutes earlier. Anya had Googled local guides, and he was apparently the best person to go to if you wanted to see the forest. So I found him, and now here we were. He was a strange one. Daniel was a strange guy, slender but muscular, not the CrossFit type. It was more the kind of strength you get from working all day long in the open. His skin was weather-beaten and bronzed by the sun, like tanned leather, and he moved in a very deliberate way. But his fingers were slim and delicate, and his eyes were the strangest shade of yellow-green. So, he repeated, how do you like her? I wasn't sure whom he meant. You mean the forest? I asked. Polish was a strange language that gave the most unexpected genders to objects and ideas. I mean... Okay, wait, hold on. Hush... Hush... Hushcha. Hushcha. What the hell does a CrossFit guy look like? A guy who does CrossFit. I mean Puszcza. He gestured around us. The words sounded like the wind rustling in the leaves. Puszcza. Puszcza is the right word, not forest. Forests are like fields or orchards, cultivated. He spat as he said it. And Puszcza. She is older than even the concept of fields. He was using the word as though it was a name. I stood and watched the forest. I looked around with fresh eyes. I felt as though I entered an ancient hall where warriors told their stories. The trees stretched toward the sky like columns holding up the vaulted canopy, which blocked out all but a few rays of sunlight. Gigantic, fallen trunks were decomposing slowly around me, with young plants and colorful mushrooms spouting from them. I tried to guess their age. Some looked like they'd been there since before Europeans had sailed to the Americas. What stories could they tell? I loved what it told, because I'm a werewolf. There should be more places like this, I said earnestly. Or more of this place. Last general poet for forest in Polish. Puszcza, large old forest. I see. Daniel lifted his head and looked me right in the eyes. Yes, you're right, he said with a serious expression. Then I remembered why I was there. I was cautious when I asked my question. You look like you know all the legends and local legends and folk tales, I said. I didn't elaborate why I was interested in the topic. Daniel stopped abruptly and turned to me, watching me for a while. His nostrils flared as though he was tasting the air. I don't share them with strangers, he said, and then hesitated. But for some reason, Puszcza doesn't think you're a stranger. Come on, he started walking. I know exactly what you need to see. That piqued my interest. So I was right, there was something hidden in my family's past, and it seemed to have a lot to do with the forest. And with every step I was getting closer to solving the mystery, so I followed him. You have a lot of words for forest? How many? We have to choose a path, he said. There's the old wolf den, or I could show you the barrows first, or a clearing that some folks call a place of power. Let's go to the barrows. We started walking, but after a few steps he stopped abruptly like he remembered something. Then he turned to me. Could you do me a favor, please? He asked. Sure. Yeah, man, sure. What do you need? I smiled. He ran his hand through the moss on the dead tree trunk, smelled his fingers, then reached into his pocket. He took out a small stone. It was just a stone. I noticed some brown spots on its surface, but otherwise it was just a stone. But it must have been something more, at least to Daniel. I would like you to take the stone, he held out his open hand toward me, and throw it the direction you think we should go. Did what he asked. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. At least 5 words for forest. That's a lot of words for forest. Okay, I said, reaching for the stone. I took the stone and closed my hand around it. Be careful, whispered Anya. I was curious. It was warm, and I felt grounded when I squeezed it. I closed my eyes and thought about the barrows, trying to imagine that place. I thought about the people who'd buried their loved ones in the middle of the ancient forest, and of the bodies nourishing it. I threw the stone. I felt my hand rising entirely on its own and then throwing the stone as far as I could. It was a good throw. The stone flew in a long arc over the bushes and disappeared without a trace in the dense undergrowth. Great. Daniel sighed. I was asking for that, wasn't it? Eh? I played it cool. He gave me a faint smile before he turned to head deeper into the forest. The trail soon disappeared. Sometimes we walked along a barely visible path made by some animals. Sometimes we followed a stream or a gully, but for most of our trek we walked through the dense undergrowth. I was getting impatient. The sun was barely noticeable through the dense canopy. I had no idea which direction we were going, and I was starting to doubt if Daniel did. It was a pleasant walk. There was always a path through the brambles. The ground was even, and the branches stayed out of our way. I almost felt like the forest wanted us to find a way. Daniel was a mystery, I decided to solve. I watched the efficient and deliberate way Daniel moved and tried to guess his background. Why had he become a guide? I tried to guess his background. Are you military? There was something dangerous in the way we moved. Yes, I used to fight. He said nothing more. Then it hit me. Suddenly, it all came together and realized what was so unusual about him. The way he moved, it was so natural, so effortless. No one who'd spent their childhood sitting all day at school or in front of a screen could move that way. Who are you, Daniel? I asked, bewildered. Were you raised by wolves or what? He looked me straight in the eyes, his irises a mesmerizing yellow-green. Yes, I was, he said with a poker face. Then he winked. Anya smiled uneasily. We continued in silence. We'd been walking for a while when I noticed that Daniel's steps had become slower. He was also looking around more often and had hunched slightly. I just enjoyed the moment. I sat down on a fallen tree trunk, looked around, and just enjoyed the afternoon. After a moment, Daniel shook his head. They're tricky to find sometimes, he mumbled. Be quiet for a minute, please. That was when I felt it. Ash in my mouth, the smell of smoke and wet soil, and a pull. I knew where to go. I think I know where to go, I said, surprised. He tilted his head. Okay, let's check it out. I pointed to the barely visible path to my left, under a dying tree. He followed me, and I followed my feet, knowing exactly where they should go. Under the crooked tree, past the dead tree trunk and the sponge-like mushrooms, across the patch of wet, dark green moss, all the way to a place that didn't look much different than other parts of the forest, until you noticed the mounds. There was something about the flattened hills that drew my full attention. I felt dizzy. What's happening to me? I looked at Daniel. Is this... I trailed off, literally forgetting to speak as it happened. It was a feeling anchored in my chest, akin to the taste of ash in my mouth and the smell of smoke, longing, sadness, resignation. But there was more. A sense of sacredness. It filled me with this calm excitement, and when I closed my eyes, I saw fire burning in the darkness. Voices. The dead were trapped beneath the stones, their bodies tangled in the roots. Some wore ancient Roman armor, some rags, some uniforms from the wars, some modern camo. Their eyes were clogged with wet clay, but their mouths moved, repeating the stories of their lives. You tell them our stories? They asked. Will you remember us? No, only one story was important. I had another mission. There was only one story worth telling. The story of the forest. When I opened my eyes, Daniel was watching me. You were somewhere else, he said. You said you had family here. I nodded. I heard that my father's family came from here. I nodded. I don't know much about them, though. Sighed. I don't think you should be here, he said tersely. You're not ready. I didn't feel ready. I think you're right, I said, and I followed him. On the way back, I was lost in my thoughts. The voices in the vision knew what I had to do. It's almost as though it was expected of me. Was this what my family did here? Why had Daniel asked about my family? Was the vision showing me what my ancestors had done here? I accepted that. I smiled. A bigger picture was finally starting to come to light. Inspiring people was in my blood. The walk back was uneventful. I felt a little tired. The shadows of the enormous trees cooled the sweat on my skin. The taste of ash lingered in my mouth. Place of power. I got an achievement for going there too. It started with the hair on the backs of my hand rising. The air around me seemed brighter, lighter. The leaves and the tree trunks turned yellow, and my skin started to prickle. I realized that I couldn't hear anything, except for the low buzzing that was filling my ears. I tripped and lost balance for a second, and when I caught myself, everything around me was swaying, dissolving into the buzzing. I had to do something, snap out of it. I tried to clear my mind. Close my eyes and try to focus. This weird sensation was coming from within, after all. I just needed to find its source. But I wasn't the source, I realized. I was only resonating. The source was somewhere else. I opened my eyes. And when I did, I was looking straight at a clearing. I could see the silhouette of a person between the trees. They were moving slowly, deliberately. And the moment I noticed them, I felt the buzzing slow down. I approached. The clearing was a plateau between the boulders. There were double-trunked trees between the rocks and an angular wooden construction that stuck out of the ground like a sore thumb. There was a bike leaning on it, but more importantly, there was a man, and he was moving in the most beautiful, harmonious way I'd ever seen. It was hypnotizing. I couldn't stop looking at the way he moved, the way his muscles danced under his tan skin. I admired the precision, the certainty, the way the man carried himself. I wanted to have that. I wanted to be like him. And I knew I could. The energy that had been filling me earlier took form. It was flowing in rhythm with his steps, with the flow of his hands. The words came out of my mouth seemingly without my knowing. What was wrong with this place? I shouted, frustrated. He stopped and looked at me. It's in pain, he said calmly. He stretched his hand toward me. I'm Colonel. Is it Colonel? I'm Colonel, he said with a hard German accent. Shouldn't you be at the logging site? Daniel asked him after I introduced myself. I needed to center myself, he answered. The others are still there. Don't worry. They were cutting down trees in this forest. Wait, logging? Here? I couldn't believe my ears. He smiled bitterly. Yes, logging. Here. That's why I needed to come down. This place is special, Daniel said. Some people call it a place of power, as I told you. And they have a good reason to, Coronel added. Look around you. So I looked. It was a clearing filled with light. I could see Cornell's traces, a beautiful pattern on the ground. But there was one thing that caught my attention more than anything else. Fruit trees. Are these fruit trees? I asked, not quite believing my eyes. Here, in the middle of the forest. Just noticing them made me feel a little more at ease. Yes, pears and apples, Cornell nodded. People believed this was a place of worship thousands of years ago. Hence the fruit trees, the stone circle, and now the tower. And indeed, there's a lot of energy in this place. You felt it, didn't you? Yeah. Yeah, I felt it, I said without enthusiasm. The Pusha is wounded and in pain, and it calls out in rage to anyone who can hear it. Here this call is louder. You see the logging. His eyes darkened. It's slaughter. Anya gasped quietly. Every priceless thing can be destroyed by greed. Logging is illegal, of course, but illegal is sometimes just a way of saying a bit more expensive but still profitable, especially for huge corporations. The forest is hurt. The wound is getting bigger, as is its desperation. Who was doing logging? I frowned. Who's doing the logging? I asked calmly. If anything was to be done here, it had to be done in an informed way. Cornell regarded me for a moment with a faint smile. You have a connection with this forest, don't you? You should come to the logging site and meet everyone. Absolutely, Anya said eagerly. Fruit trees are quite often found around the cities and forest clearings here. In spring, before trees get green, they often get white with flowers. That sounds pretty. That sounds pretty. So it looks, especially with all the fruits and all the flowers and stuff. Hey, let me drink some water. It sounded good. It could be the next step, and even if it wasn't, something had to be fudging done about the logging situation. Yeah, I'll come, I smiled. Great, you will understand what you need to do. He jumped suddenly and looked at the wooden tower and the bike I noticed earlier. Okay, that's German. I need to open German. Hello! What game is this? That's Aiden, right? Yeah, welcome Aiden. We are, this is a reading. We're reading, it's a visual novel. It's another werewolf game. Hold on, I need to, okay, let's see, German time. Wait. Die Schwalbe. Die Schwalbe. That's German, alright. Totally. Die Schwalbe is getting restless, he said. And as Daniel pointed out, I should be on the logging site setting up the protest. Schwalbe. He named his bike Swallow, Daniel explained. He loves it very much. Coronel grinned. Oh, I do. Nice meeting you, Maya. All I wanted to do was get out of there. The moment he disappeared, the buzzing came back. It wasn't as strong as before, but it was there. All I wanted to do was get out of there. We went on through the greenery, the buzzing in my ears slowly decreased. Old stories, families divided, the wolves den. The first thing I noticed when we stopped was a pine tree I knew. I remembered it, small, twisted, and crooked, with roots sticking out the side of the hill which it grew. I knew it was wise. Every bend of every branch held hidden knowledge that was waiting to be discovered. Months before that, when I decided to come to Poland, I dreamed of that tree. I was sure of it. Just like I was sure under its roots I'd find a burrow, and a few feet away another one, like two dark eyes gazing at me as I approached. Daniel passed me and approached the tree. He pressed his cheek against the trunk. Hello, he said quietly. Someone else there. Hello, I repeated just in case, but it seemed like we were the only people there. This is the den, announced Daniel. It's abandoned, of course, but still worth seeing. Why was it abandoned? I'm on break. You're on a break? Ah, I see. You've been playing a new game? In a Zoom up in 11. I see. Hope you have fun with your game. What happened? I asked. Humans happened, Daniel sighed. He sat under the tree, leaning his back against it. It was a hot spring morning when I found this den. No one knows who the men were, even though it was only one human generation ago. There were 6 cubs out here under the roots of this tree. He'd stopped stuttering and seemed to enjoy telling the story. I enjoyed listening. There was something calming in his voice and the way he talked. His slow gestures and wistful eyes made me feel as though I was with the cubs on that hot spring morning. I don't think they wanted to hurt the wolves, he continued. They probably thought they'd been abandoned. That's why they took the cubs with them. Humans have this instinct that makes you try to befriend everything, especially if it's dangerous. I didn't disagree. You put it that way, I answered, unsure. I'm not saying it always works out. Howdy, Briar. Hello, Sheriff Pumpkin. Welcome, Sheriff Pumpkin. How you doing? But the intention is good, and I believe the men who kidnapped the wolves wanted to do something kind, he continued. Anyway, they took them. Out of the 6, 2 lived to see the cold summer that year. The wolf mother used to come to the farm they were at and howl. People went gray if they heard her. I knew that howl. And suddenly I heard that howl. I knew exactly how it sounded, and I felt despair and longing gnawing at my soul. I remember how the cubs had reacted. They whimpered for their mother to leave. Every time she came, we whimpered, begging her to leave. We all needed to find a way to grow in the places we were now. There was wisdom to be found, but only if she moved on. Maya, are you okay? Anya asked, putting her hand on my shoulder. I felt for the cubs. It's an anime soccer game. Yeah, I remember. In Inazuma 11, it's a football kind of game. Feel pretty bad for the main character. Oh, that's sad. That is sad. Maybe there will be character development. I just feel for the cubs. I know a little about divided families myself. Oh, yeah, that usually ended the conversation. Daniel sighed, looking at the tree and the burrow. The cubs that survived were sold to some people in... Okay, hold on. I need to... Wait. 𝑦𝒐𝒊𝒕�. Were sold to some people in 𝑦𝒐𝒊𝒕�. But after a while, both of them ended back in 𝑭𝒊𝒏𝒂𝒔 with the scientists. They have a station in the national park. One of the wolves, Kazan, was a celebrity of sorts. If you saw any wolf photos from there, they were probably of Kazan. He was even on postcards. In the end, the smartest cub survived. It's impressive that Kazan survived, I decided. He was smart to befriend people. Daniel smiled. Survival is always good. He agreed. There was a slight gust of wind and the tree creaked. I remember that sound from my dreams as well. A sound that made me feel safe. What happened to Kazan? And what happened later? I felt like I knew Daniel well enough to ask that. Is Kazan still alive? Oh, hello, Lee Min-chung. Welcome, Lee Min-chung. In nightmare mode, it's a bit scary. No, it's very spiritual. We're in the forest, doing spiritual things. You can see that the grass looks like a wolf and everything. It's werewolf. Yeah, it's werewolf. What the dog doing? He lived for 8 years in the park. Daniel looked at me with his yellow-green eyes, until they let another male wolf into his pen. I held my breath. They fought over the she-wolf and Kazan lost. Anya looked up from her phone. I read about that. She sounded upset. They didn't notice he was wounded. It took him 3 days to die. Daniel shrugged. He lived a long life and died fighting. It was good. Silent. What the Briar reading? Hello, Civ. Welcome, Civ. We're reading Werewolf the Apocalypse, Heart of the Forest. It's basically a prequel to the other werewolf game that we played that one time. The other visual novel. He looked at the burrows for a long time. This place is my friend, so I try to keep it important and respected. I think it's my mission, you know. I could relate to that. This game's all text? Yep, all text, all pictures. It's reading time. I think I understand. Every family had a story worth remembering. Daniel looked at the tree one last time. Goodbye, he said. I also said my goodbyes. Goodbye, I repeated, and we left. The forest was alive around us, vigilant, but not armed by our presence. I kept thinking about the stolen cub. Made our way back. As we walked through town, Anya nudged me and pointed at a tall, broad-shouldered, freckled guy standing at the bus stop with a lost expression on his face. I remembered his face from the pictures on social media. It was a friend who'd stood me up earlier. I greeted him. Bartek? I asked, getting his attention. Maya, what are you doing here? He blurted with surprise when he saw me. I was sure you missed the bus. We started walking and talking. His accent was broad and East European. Anya liked him. Anya took an immediate liking to him, I could tell. I always could smell romance in the air. We walked along the only street in the village, nearing the center, if you call it that. Every house had a garden, and the air was dense with the fragrance of flowers. Alright, see you, Aiden. Thank you for coming, Aiden. I took a deep breath. So did you manage to trace the name I gave you? I asked. Bartek shook his head. Nothing. Absolutely nothing. Sorry. He was avoiding my eyes. A trickle of sweat ran down his temple. He looked afraid. What's up, man? I smiled. Spill the beans. I'm a big girl. I can take it. But he just clammed up. You know what? I think you should drop it. I stopped. It was almost too easy. Alright, see you, Li Ming-chung. Have a good dinner. Hope it's gonna be tasty. Bartek tensed up, and I just shrugged and smiled. Okay, let's go. I winked at Anya. It looked like I pulled the rug out from under him. But you said it was important. I played the best friend there was. It was important, I said, sounding much more sincere than I felt. But I care about your feelings, and if you don't want to tell me, that's fine. Well, he brushed his forehead with the back of his hand. I did ask. I started with the old people here. I told them that my friend from the States was looking for her roots and wanted to know about the place her family came from. You know the drill. At first, people were very, receptive. I waited for the other shoe to drop. And then I mentioned your name. He shook his head. I urged him. Bartek, no dramatic pauses, please, I urged him. Tension is killing me. One of the old men here told me to go to hell. The other spat on the ground, and his wife crossed herself. For a moment, he looked younger and smaller. And then my own grandmother told me to stop asking. She said something else as well. I tensed up. What? I asked. She told me to pray for you. Suddenly, the sweet, golden afternoon wasn't so sweet and golden anymore. Who was I? I looked at Bartek and saw the stories he'd heard had clearly strained something between us. He was afraid of me. Who was I? We walked in silence, but my mind was at overdrive. People didn't want to talk. That could only mean one thing. I was on the right track. My pulse quickened, and I tensed up like a hound that smelled blood. I was on the right track. I needed to gather my thoughts. It was a long day, a lot had happened, and I was really tired. It was good to meet you in person, I said, but I need to be going. All this traveling and walking through the forest, it was exhausting, I smiled. Sure, where are you staying? It turned out we were going the same way. Of course. We went back to the bed and breakfast. The bed and breakfast was quaint. I left Anya and Bartek outside. They were lost in a conversation and didn't even notice that I was gone. When I got out of the shower, Anya was back, smiling and a little flustered. "What a day," she smiled. "So what do you think?" I made a quick mental inventory of everything that had happened that day. "They've cut down forests." "I can't believe they're logging here." I shook my head. "Isn't the forest on a UNESCO list or something?" "Yeah, I know. I want to check out this protest people are talking about. Maybe we could go there tomorrow." "Hello, Mama. Welcome, Mama. It's 𝒂𝒏𝒆. It's 𝒂𝒏𝒆. I'm 𝒂𝒏𝒆. Welcome. Welcome." Place of power sure made an impression. I felt a strange energy in the place of power before we met Coronel. It still freaks me out. Coronel seemed cool, though, Anya answered. He seemed to really understand what you're going through. Daniel was strange. "Oh my god, 9% brain rot. That's 1% less than yesterday." There's something really strange about the forest guide. I tried to put my finger on it. He acted like he had learned how to be human from a book he didn't understand. I know, right? Maybe it's the isolation. It seems he spends most of his time in the forest. I was moved by the story of the world. "Good morning. Good morning, go mudbugs. Welcome." I fell off. You did fall off, Mau Mau. Mau Mau fell off. "The wolf cubs that were kidnapped and died in captivity," I sighed. "The story stayed with me." She put a hand on my arm. "Divided families, huh? It's okay, Maya." I was freaked out by the vision at the barrows. The funny thing is, I could probably tell when the game was taking place for a couple. There was a big fuss about logging in 𝑭𝒏𝒂𝒎 by the previous government. Oh, I see. And that's probably when the game came out, I assume. Okay, let's see. "Something strange happened when I was visiting the old barrows," I said and instantly regretted it. "Never mind, I probably just dehydrated." "Yeah, it was probably it. But you looked weird." He laughed nervously. "A lot of things today were weird if you think." I didn't feel like talking anymore. "You know what? I'm seriously tired. Let's call it a day, shall we?" Soon we were both in our beds, ready to sleep. Even though I was tired, sleep didn't come quickly. Anxiety was spreading its cold, writhing roots deep in my chest and stomach. I lay there for some time looking at the silver rectangle painted on the wall by the moonlight. When I closed my eyes, I could still see the weird vision I had that day. My roots were here. I could feel them, almost touch them, and they were reaching to me. I felt I was closer to getting my answers. I felt that the answers I was looking for were within my reach. I should go and see the logging protest, find Coronel, and make him talk. After a long while, all these thoughts became blurry. They slowly started to turn into pictures, sounds, and colors. I drifted off. In the big city, old men sit in leather chairs, lazily enjoying their ever-growing wealth. They watch 𝑭𝒏𝒂𝒎 on flickering screens. They watch me. I tremble. Something is coming. It's huge and monstrous. I am a cub. I am a wolf cub, like the ones my grandfather told me about. I will grow and my fangs will become sharper. I will taste blood. I feel a pull and I surrender to it. I run toward a clearing. There are piles of fresh corpses of people who died too young, skinned and mutilated. Their loved ones stand around them, grieving, unable to do anything, waiting, and suddenly they are just trees and tree trunks. I weep. And other voices join me, terrified and hollow. The trees are dead, and I'm here to help console their spirits. There's a stench in the air like meat rotting in acid, but somehow worse. I see the monstrous army. Their mandibles are whirling chainsaws. Their long middle arms are wrapped with black pipes that look like glistening intestines. Their smell is vile. They wait, unmoving. I charge at them. I try to breathe through my mouth as I run toward the machines. I hit and kick them blindly, screaming at the top of my lungs. And in my own screams, I hear strange whispers. They tell me to look at the sky. There, between the stars, two shapes circle each other. An old sad wolf with gray hair and a white weasel. They keep their eyes on one another as they continue their dance, suspicious but not hostile. We need to fight the enemy. The awful, rotting stench, I know that much. But how can we do that when we don't trust each other? They stop. They look at me and the clearing. I look at them, cautious. I gaze at them like they gaze at me. Now the three of us are all measuring each other. They descend to the opposite side of the clearing. One by one, other shadows join them. I stand in the middle of it all. Chapter 2. Logging. Quick chapters. I think this is like a 2-hour game. The next morning was full of sunshine and birdsong. I could smell the heat of the afternoon building, those long, honey-like hours in late June when the earth isn't tired of its own warmth yet. But it was crisp and pleasant now. I got up. I sat on my bed for a moment, letting my feet dangle from. I wasn't sure how I felt. The weight of the previous day had coiled up somewhere in my chest, and it felt like a tiny merry-go-round gaining speed. And there was a dream. Then I remembered the dream, the clearing, the animals in the night sky. How was I supposed to react to it? I took a shower, ate something without really paying attention, and went out. Anya joined you. We were halfway through the forest when Bartek caught up with us. You were right, Anya. Protest is important. Going to the forest. I was running all the options over and over in my head, and I didn't really care where I was going. But I looked up, the sun was shining, the village was far behind me, and I was at the logging site. Anya looked around. So, what's the plan? We need to find someone. There was someone I had to find and press for answers. Daniel. I went to talk to Daniel. He seemed to know more than he told me. I have a feeling that he's here, trying to save the Pushcha. I looked around. On my right to the ancient forest, on my left was this freshly torn clearing. Ahead of me, ruining the view, were huge logging machines and a group of people arguing in their shadow. They clearly needed someone to gently nudge them in the right direction. I looked at them. There were people there too. The loggers were sitting idly on the tree trunks, sharing cigarettes. The police that stood between them and a colorful group of protesters were visibly uneasy and twitchy. I saw some reporters who were clearly bored because no one was doing anything interesting. The harvesters loomed over the clearing, reeking. I saw a familiar face among the protesters. I noticed Daniel. He stood near a group of arguing protesters, but as I cast my eyes on him, he went to one of the harvesters, turned his back on other people there, and started pissing on the machine. The protesters were clearly conflicted. Reporters, no violence, boring. Well, he started peeing. They clearly needed some advice. They were foolish, losing the sight of the big picture, and someone should tell them that. It might as well be me. One of the police officers, young and nervous, said something I didn't fully understand. I let Bartek handle it. Bartek leaned over to him and whispered something. The officer instantly lost interest. Oh, he said, you're one of them, and then he let us go. Then I noticed that someone joined us. And then I noticed someone use a commotion to sneak with us past the police. A girl with disheveled, bleached-out hair. Don't worry, she patted the officer on the arm. It was an awful pickup line anyway. He recoiled. You shouldn't touch me, ma'am. I smiled. I smiled at her and wanted to say something, but I was interrupted. Pat! Porno called from the gathering. Could you come here? I need you to show Olga the chart. She sighed, reaching to her backpack and taking out a tablet. And they're at it again, she murmured under her breath and winked at me. Coming. We went towards the activists. As I walked towards Daniel, I heard more and more of the argument. Olga, you can't... Porno was saying. Pat stood next to him with her tablet. She looked a bit amused. Do not fudging tell me what I can or can't do, Colonel, the woman with dreadlocks interrupted. I can because they are destroying our mother. I can fight with all the means at my disposal, even if that means burning those harvesters to the ground. Colonel raised his eyebrows. Wasn't Pat the Glass walking in it, team? It was? I totally forgot. But good memory. Good memory. Burn the harvesters, Colonel asked calmly. In this drought. Olga, are you out of your mind? You know what I mean. We fight them any way we can. Because this is a fudging war, she spat. He sighed. You've never seen real war, and it shows. Nobody is shooting at us, and believe me, we want it to stay that way. We need a peaceful protest, I approached Daniel. Hey, can we talk? I asked, approaching Daniel. He smiled, zipping his pants. Jumping. Oh, hi, Maya. I think our leaders are arguing now, and it has to be settled. It's good you came, actually. We need to tell Colonel that he's wrong. Oh, so I was to take a stand. I looked at them. I looked at them both. Olga with her fury and passion. Colonel with his cool, professional demeanor, and shared, without any reservations, what I felt about the situation. It wasn't about personal victory. Honestly, there are a lot more solutions than violence, I said in a clear voice, and I think that saving the forest is more important than winning a war or a dispute. I only inflamed the situation. The argument attracted more and more people. Someone old shook their head and moved forward. They had deep wrinkles, a narrow mouth, and the unisex grace of a tired, heroin-preserved rockman. I totally dug your style. They had shoulder-length, disheveled hair, a clean shave, and eyes highlighted with eyeliner. Bright blue nails, heavy army boots, a red skirt, and a tank top completed the look. And pins, lots of pins, all kinds of LGBTQA flags, anarchist and pacifist symbols, and things of German band stripes. I observed them curiously. Olga, darling, you know I love you, but Colonel really knows what he's doing. Please trust me on that one. They talked to Olga, but kept glancing at me, as if to check how I reacted. Fudge off, Kim. You didn't even trust me enough to come here on your own when I asked you to. There was a woman at Olga's side. Next to Olga, there was a woman, and she was the most beautiful person I'd ever seen. I couldn't help but overhear. Kim, you want to teach me about violence? She looked them straight in the eye. About fighting oppression. Just because your boss went to that one mission in Afghanistan. Her Polish was peculiar, kind of mellow. Colonel winced. Lisa, leave Kim alone, He didn't know what to say, and it seemed that the whole discussion would be derailed. I didn't let that happen. Hey guys, the forest, I said. The logging? The protests? Olga unclenched her fists. Colonel looked back at her and chuckled softly. You almost punched me. The conversation was over, at least for the time being. Colonel, together with his cronies, walked towards the reporters while Olga went back to the group of people standing in the shadow of an old oak tree. I looked at the forest. I looked at the pushcha. The clearing full of felled trees was like a gaping, bleeding wound in the chest of a friend. I had to do something. I looked at my friends. We have to stop this logging. Yes, just like Olga said. Anya nodded, excited. What they are doing is unforgivable, and we have to fight. It is a very complicated situation, Bartek looked thoughtful. I liked what that guy Colonel said, that we should proceed peacefully, not to discourage the public and potential supporters. I looked at one group. I looked at the other. The harvesters were dripping with black oil, and the forest stood tall, serene, and full of golden light. It looked like it could protect itself, and I looked at the felled trees, dead, limp, and helpless. Yeah, diplomacy. Don't burn the forest. If you burn the harvesters, it's gonna burn the forest. Colonel owed me some explanations. Hey, wait for me, I shouted and ran after him. Hello, Maya, he said. I see you haven't come alone. He reached out his hand. shook it. His handshake was firm and strong. His eyes were an uncanny shade of gray. Damn, he looked tough. Damn, you look like a tough guy, I blurted out, impressed. He was, in that bad boy hipster military way. What the heck is that kind of description? I know, he said without skipping a beat. Colonel looked me in the eyes. I know why you came to 𝑵𝒂𝒊𝒕𝒔. The forest is reaching out to you, because for a long time your ancestors were its servants, and now you're the only one left to pay what they owed. He seemed to believe it. I looked at him skeptical, but he seemed to believe it. We have the same goal. He looked back at me. Will you help me? I had no time to answer. But before I could answer, I heard a commotion and turned around. The reporters were coming our way, but their cameras were switched off and pointed at the ground. Why weren't they filming? Funny, I thought. They should be taking photos or filming the protest, but I couldn't remember if they were when I arrived at the site. So? Asked Cornell. There was a hint of impatience in his voice. The reporter shook his head and grimaced. Sorry, everyone. We can't do anything. We're not allowed to cover what's going on here. Suddenly, I understood. Then it hit me. The police weren't there to protect the protesters or the press. Yeah, it must be hard to do your job when the police are watching your every step, I said, and they nodded. There was a moment of tense silence, and then it all came together. Suddenly I understood the dream. That was the moment I could tip the balance. We could still use the reporters. I looked at the protesters. They were us as I was. They knew they wanted to protect the forest, but they didn't have a clue how to do it. I looked around, put my hands in my pockets, and wandered towards the journalist. The cops were scared. We have the upper hand. We know what we stand for. They don't, I continued. They think they're the masters here, but they're just following orders. They're just weak, vulnerable humans. They think their badges and weapons will protect them. Unspectacular as I was, I managed to connect. I acted on it. Does it always look like this? I asked. I mean, is it an everyday situation that you can't report? No, answered one of them. He was tall, in his 30s. There were a few glances toward him, almost a flash of warning, but it was too late. But why were they in 𝑵𝒂𝒊𝒕𝒔 at all? Wait, so why are you here at all? I asked, and then it hit me. You were sent to find some dirt on the activists, to get something that would compromise the protests. They looked at one another, suddenly unsure what to say. Then I heard shouts as Olga and her protesters clashed with the police, and the cameramen grabbed their gear and ran toward the action. Remember, we want the aggressive ones, shouted one of the reporters. I could see the logo of the national TV station on his camera. Soon we were alone. Fudge! Colonel swore and threw his thermal cup at the ground. It bounced, spilling hot coffee everywhere. Someone grabbed me by my shoulder. I turned around and saw Kim. This is where you exit the scene. They turned me around and gently but firmly pushed me away. We'll be in touch, they whispered. Did that make things worse? When I was on the road to the village and nobody could see me, I doubled over and vomited. I always felt violently sick when there was too much to process at once. In the whole commotion, I lost Anya and Bartek. I was alone. So I thought. Hey, are you alright? A voice behind me said, and I jumped. A woman was walking toward me. It's too much. I whispered all of that. We walked slowly toward the village. We talked. I learned that she was an independent German reporter who had come here about a month ago. Her name was Erika. So why are you protesting the logging? She asked after a few minutes of small talk. We have to save the puszcza. I think the puszcza is unique, and when I saw how many trees they cut in just one afternoon, it broke my heart. I said, still shaken by the sheer number of fallen trees. I have to do whatever I can to save the forest. I looked at her. Why are you asking? She looked at me with renewed interest. Good morning, TA. Good morning. It is morning time. Morning, folks. Morning. Do you know why they are cutting down the trees? She asked back. Because you do know that logging is done by a government company, the state forests. I had no idea. In fact, I knew very little. I know very little about the situation, I realized. Just what the others have told me. Erica reached for her notebook. You redacted your own message. It's okay, it happens. It all started with the spruce bark beetles. Erica looked into her notes and started explaining the whole situation. That year, the beetles' infestation was of catastrophic proportions, and the foresters decided that the only way to stop it and save the rest of the forest was to cut down as many infested trees as fast as possible. Couldn't just... Was cutting down trees really necessary? Is cutting down trees the only way to stop the infestation? I asked, confused. The foresters state that this is the only way. That was the explanation. Oh, I see. So they're making it close to real life. The foresters state that this is the only way, she said. Some biologists argue that they are cutting wrong trees and doing it too late to change anything. Or was logging legal? Opinions differ, but such massive logging in a UNESCO-listed area might be illegal, Erica answered. Couldn't they just remove dead trees? Maybe if they removed dead trees, the infestation wouldn't spread. I tried to find a solution. They might do that, but dead trees are what make the forest unique. Erica smiled. There are 20 times more species living on a dead spruce tree than on an alive one. They have to intervene at all. Couldn't they just leave the pushchair alone and let nature take its course? I asked. That's one of the options, Erica admitted. But there's a drought, and no one is sure if the forest would survive on its own. It was a complex situation, but that didn't mean that I should sit back, and I felt that Erica was deliberately playing the devil's advocate. Try to understand her point of view. I see that you are trying to show me the whole picture, and I appreciate it. I sighed. I just hoped there would be an easy answer. Just doing my job, Erica shrugged. I described all aspects of the situation to you, but it's up to you to decide what you want to do. It was a tough decision. I shook my head. Why did the situation always have to be so complex? At least I was sure that they were cutting down the trees, and the pushchair needed my help. What happened to the wood? When they cut down the trees, what happens to the wood? The state forests have to be financially self-sufficient. They earn money by selling forest products, including wood, she answered. That's why I think the bark beetle is not the reason, but an excuse to push more wood on the market. I concluded my case. She looked skeptical. You're not the only one feeling helpless, she sighed. So don't let the complexity of the situation stop you. Life is always complex, yet we carry on. So what was right and what was wrong? So what do I do when I feel that something is wrong? I asked, exasperated. Do you believe that people can be evil? She asked back. Do bad things for sure. Some people do really shitty things, I shrugged. But is it just their actions or their nature? I said nothing. What's the matter? She asked. I admitted my helplessness. I felt so helpless when I saw all that. I took a deep breath. Then I remembered what Cornell had said. All that mystical stuff. And then said I have some family debts to pay. I shook my head. It's a lot to take in. And there was that foul smell back there. She looked at me with a weird expression. What smell? How come she didn't smell it? You didn't smell it. The harvesters reeked of something like meat that's been rotting in acid. It was. I couldn't even find the words to describe it, but the memory of the foulness still clung to the back of my throat, swimming in my sinuses. I know what you're talking about, she answered slowly, but I don't think everybody can smell it. I looked at her and raised my eyebrow, questioning. There was sympathy in her eyes. You'll learn in your own time if you stay here long enough, she said, clearly wanting to drop the topic. I let it go. I shrugged. Cryptic remarks never did anything. The situation was complicated enough as it was. I just hoped I hadn't made things worse. We walked on in silence. When I opened the door, I found Anya and Bartek sitting on Anya's bed. They were a little flustered and were nonchalantly trying to look like I hadn't interrupted anything. We lost sight of you, Bartek said apologetically. I'm glad you made it back in one piece. So how was your day? I shrugged. Just another day in 𝑭𝒂𝒏𝒂𝒎. We sat for a while in silence. You know, there's more to see here than 𝑭𝒂𝒏𝒂𝒎, Bartek said to me. You should visit. Okay, there's a list of names. Oh, sure. Okay, let's see. Okay, hold on. 𝑭𝒂𝒏𝒂𝒎 𝑰𝒏𝒇𝒐 𝒂𝒐. There's a lot of name drops, yes. See the open-air museum and the bison. The logging is not all that happens here. I couldn't see everything. Nice job. Thank you. I tried from Google Translate. It would be great if I could see everything, but I can't. I shrugged. I want to focus on the logging, even if I'm missing some. And how's the search for your roots going? Asked Bartek, clearly wanting to change the topic. I shared what I learned. It seems that my ancestors lived around the forest for a long time, I said, and there are some kinds of debts to be paid. Wow, Anya looked impressed. Honestly, I'm not sure what to think. If you need something, just let me know. I was tired. I just sat there looking through the window. The day had been full on, and I was exhausted. I didn't notice when I fell asleep. It's quiet now, yet I know deep down inside that something isn't right. Run! I'm running through the forest to the logging site. It's getting dark. The light seeps away as though there are millions of tiny punch holes in the sky through which it can escape, and the darkness starts to pour in. I know what I will see. And I see bodies strewn across the ground, bloodied, maimed, with their limbs torn from destroyed torsos. I can see some of them are still alive, still struggling for air, still trying to live. They are all trees, fallen trees, still alive, still struggling for air, and there's a stench. I can smell them. The stench is dark, rancid, putrid. There are monsters at the edge of the forest. They have long skeletal arms. They are wrapped in glistening black intestines, and each arm has a wide, gaping mandible full of whirring blades. They snap at me blindly. I feel righteous anger burning through me like molten lava bubbling from the ground. Through my feet, up my legs, through my chest, and to my head, I point at the monsters. My friends watch, and I bask in their rage. I howl the sentence. I howl out the death sentence, and we run toward the monstrous shapes. We bite off heads and tear off arms. We are an executioner's axe, unflinching. Then I wake up. I gasped and bolted upright. I was alone. The sun was setting, and in the deep red light the room looked like it was bathed in blood. My pillow and duvet were on the ground, and I was sweating bullets. I looked at my legs. When did they become so hairy? I could have sworn I'd shaved them that morning. I got hairy legs. Chapter 3. Standoff. I thought about going back to sleep, but I couldn't. Since I'd arrived in the morning, I felt like I was falling down a rabbit hole, or rather, a wolf's den. My dream was getting more and more vivid, and I was scared. I needed to talk it over with someone I trusted. Anya was in it from the start. I've come here with Anya, and despite all the strange things I've done, she still struck with me. I messaged her, and she messaged me back. I'm on a walk. Come join me. The sun had just set, and the moon wasn't up yet. I started walking. The forest loomed on the horizon. The activist camp was somewhere there. We met near the drop in 𝑭𝒂𝒏𝒂𝒎. It was a characteristic enough point, and easy to get to from anywhere in town. What is it? Anya asked. She looked worried. Something strange was happening. I know it sounds crazy, but I think something strange is happening to me. I'm scared, Anya. There is something strange happening, she nodded. But I have no idea what it is. I know even less than you. She frowned. Maybe we should go to your new friend, the activists. She smiled a little. They're weird. They must know something. She had the best idea. That's why I came to you. You have the best ideas. She smiled and started walking. Let's go. I'm sure they're not sleeping. Do you mind if I text Bartek? I promised I'd meet him tonight. I didn't mind, and soon he joined us. We went to the activist camp. The camp had a different vibe than the logging site protest. There were more people there. We looked around, trying to take it all in. The people in the camp seemed quite cheerful. Someone was singing. I heard 3 or 4 girls singing together in a unique Eastern European style called the white voice. It was the most melodic, throaty growling I'd ever heard. I listened for a moment. I stopped and got lost in the music for a long while. People were milling about, setting up camp, cooking, preparing posters. Everyone was busy. I have no idea what your plan is, said Bartek, but you have my full support. I needed to see Cornell. Hello, I said as I approached. Cornell smiled at me. Hello, what brings you here? I was confused. I answered, is it really true? I mean, all the stories I've heard connecting me and the forest. Cornell looked at me with those uncanny gray eyes. I could feel his attention lock on me. Yes, it's true, he said. And that's why we're here. To stop the government destroying the forest. To show that we don't agree and that we hope to make a difference. And you have your role to play. Will it work? I asked. I don't know. All I know is that it worked before. It worked for Gandhi. It worked for segregation and apartheid. In the end, it worked for communism. So let's see if it works for capitalism as well. Violence is not an option. He smiled. And I think you know quite well that anger doesn't really get shit done. I knew that. The cat couldn't be pet because of my anger. I smiled back. Somehow being around him made me feel more relaxed. I know you can count on me, I answered. I had a family debt to pay, and I couldn't be just an observer anymore. So we may have a little citizen protest going on tonight, Cornell said, but I'll need your support if we want to convince the others. We all wanted to do something tonight, but after a whole day's discussion, they were still divided on what to do. 3 for one option, 3 for another. I had the deciding vote. Peaceful protest. I voted for the peaceful protest, and soon we were on our way to the National Park headquarters and education center. We had some banners to install. Bartek hesitated for a long time, but he joined us in the end. I'm only coming because my dad is out tonight, and he won't see me coming in late, he mocked. Anya also tagged along. This is so exciting, Anya whispered. I've never done anything so illegal. Soon we were there. As we were on our way, I realized that we followed the path only because of my boat. I made a difference. The National Park headquarters were located in something called Palace Park. The name was historical. The name, like everything in Poland, was historical. Centuries ago, some king had his hunting lodge there, but now it was a mishmash of old and new buildings scattered around the park. Some were rough and bulky, made of stone and brick, while others were extravaganza of wooden porches, lace-like shutters, and meticulously sculpted pillars. There was no one around, but the area was well lit. I needed to be careful. This wasn't your everyday act of vandalism. This was something bigger, more important, yes, but also more dangerous. Getting arrested in Poland didn't seem like a great way to start my visit. On the contrary. In fact, it could be the end to it. Suddenly, I remembered the church located just next to the Palace Park gate. I could feel its dark silhouette looming in the darkness, waiting. We were ready. They spent the whole day painting the sign on a length of material, sewn together from what looked like old sheets that were various shades of grayish-white. The dark green letters declared, "Wood is the enemy of the forest." "Where do we hang it?" asked Daniel, who had come equipped with climbing gear. I shared my recommendations. I think we should attach it to the drain pipes here and there. I pointed to the 2 corners of the building and Daniel grunted in agreement. "It doesn't matter," Olga said, "because hanging the banner is a waste of time." I looked at her, curious what kind of advice she could offer. I let her talk. Olga looked at me, as though she expected me to say something, but I didn't take the bait. It's a great banner, and I'm sure it'll look good on the pictures published by a number of independent political blogs. She looked at Coronel, but it's stuck so deep into the overeducated ecological dispute that people won't get it and the loggers won't care. Coronel just shook her head and gestured Daniel to continue the conversation patiently. Soon the sign was up, screaming our message to all of 𝑦𝒏𝒂𝒎𝒄. Coronel looked at me. Maya, what did you think? I said it was glorious. I didn't really get that slogan, but I decided to play it cool. Oh, I sighed. It's glorious. I'm glad you think so, he grinned. I love the wording. Humans let the forest grow so that they can take wood from it, but that isn't the purpose of the forest. Finally, we pulled the banner up. My father will have a stroke when he sees this. 𝒂𝒏𝒂𝒏 let out a repressed laugh. It's an important message. Anya looked up with fire in her eyes. The world must know. I looked at the sign, flying high over the park. I was proud of our work. When we finished, Coronel gathered us together. I was proud of what we accomplished, and I contributed to that. Whatever my family had done, I was starting to pay back the debt. Coronel reached for his bicycle. Let's go for a trip, to remind ourselves what we're trying to protect. The woods were full of stars. We cycled in silence, enjoying the company of the forest, and it enjoyed ours. After some time, the place of power opened up before us. The boulders looked relaxed. A soft breeze rustled in the trees, welcoming. 𝒂𝒏𝒂𝒏 was tense. We should have stayed at home, whispered 𝒂𝒏𝒂𝒏, and the whisper carried in the air. This is not a good night to be out here. 𝑧𝒕𝒓𝒆𝒂𝒏 was getting to me. The energy was still there, I knew it, but it couldn't reach me. Not if I didn't allow it to. I wonder if anyone else felt it as well. You guys feel that? I looked at my companions. But before anyone could answer, a loud sound tore through the silence. It was a gunshot. Oh my god! Anya gasped, looking around, wide-eyed and terrified. The others tensed up, but it didn't look concerned, just confused. We have to get out of here immediately. 𝒂𝒏𝒂𝒏's whisper was frantic and scared. There's a hunting party out here. Coronel turned towards us like he'd finally put something together. There was a rustle, and I saw a bunch of men in camo, each of them with a rifle, coming towards us between the trees. I observed them. I watched their angry steps and listened to the murmured curses. Something was strangely familiar. The man at the front looked exactly like an older version of 𝒂𝒏𝒂𝒏. He weighed us up for a moment, then focused on Coronel. This area is closed for the night, the huntsman said in Polish. There was contempt in his voice. There is a hunt going on, and y'all are trespassing. We have police officers here, so I would go home if I were you, unless you want to get arrested. This was a hard pile of bullcrap. This guy reeked of guilt. I turned to the forest for advice. This man, I realized, was no one. He wasn't important here. What was important was the forest and what it needed, and it cared about me and didn't want me to get hurt. There would be other nights and other people to fight. But right then, I felt that it wanted me to leave. I ran, the air in my lungs boiling, my skin slick with sweat, and the darkness thick around me. Anya and 𝒂𝒏𝒂𝒏 were running just behind me, or so I hoped. Something was chasing us. We left shouts and gunshots long behind us, but we couldn't stop. Something was chasing us. Two silhouettes, one lean, the other bulky. I saw them in the corner of my eye as they leaped forward. At first I thought they were people, but as they leaped they got longer, smaller. I couldn't see clearly. It was dark, so it was blinding me, and they were hiding behind the trees. I heard howling and growling, and then I saw there were wolves chasing us. I decided to face them. I stopped in the middle of the path and turned to face the animals. I had no choice of outrunning them anyway. What are you doing? Whispered Anya, terrified. 𝒂𝒏𝒂𝒏 grabbed her wrist and pulled her off the path. I looked at the wolves. They looked at me. I felt strangely connected to them. We're the same, I realized with shock, you and I. The wolves dispersed, and then something happened. Something that I couldn't see clearly, and two people stepped out of the bushes. I knew both of them. Coronel? Wait, she has the right to know. Coronel grabbed Olga's arm. One of us is going to bite you, she said matter-of-factly. And then you will die, Coronel added. One way or another, it runs in your family. Close my eyes. They're gonna turn me into a wolf? There was a series of wet cracks, like skin breaking, torn from within by muscles that suddenly grew, by bones rapidly getting longer, by fur and teeth and claws. When I dared to look, I saw 2 8-feet-tall monsters standing in front of me on the narrow path in the forest. Which? I managed to whisper, and then there was only pain. The pain was unbearable. Nothing in my life had prepared me for this. I started laughing. Blinded by the blood in my eyes and the searing pain in my shoulder and chest, I could only laugh. This wasn't what I'd expected from this trip. You spend so much time planning, only to see your whole life crash and burn. All I could do was laugh, but I knew how serious it was. So I laughed, grinning with bloody teeth until my strength left me, and I couldn't hold myself upright anymore. The forest caught my fall with a bed of moss and twigs. I stopped thrashing, and a cold numbness engulfed me. No, I tried to get up. I punched the earth, trying to get some feeling in my hands. I gritted my teeth and tried to get up. I collapsed again. I felt so cold. Suddenly there was light. I looked out. The full moon. It looked different. It was quite a sham. It was glorious. Condition impaired. Health and willpower, I see. Your willpower dropped to 0. When you lose all your health or willpower, you can be impaired. This will make physical tasks, if you have 0 heart, or social and mental tasks, if you have 0 willpower, harder and sometimes impossible. The moon was a goddess and she noticed me. Get up, she said. I got up. I got up. I feel good. I know it shouldn't, but I don't remember why. I don't care. I stretch. My muscles are sore and cramped, so I stretch like I've never stretched before. My arms are longer, my legs are stronger, my heart is pumping, and I feel like I've spent my whole life packed into a box, and I've finally been set free. I breathe. I take a breath and feel my ribs and muscles move. The forest smells of blood and fear and excitement. I laugh happily, and others laugh. They join me. We laugh and sing to the moon. My mind is clear. My mind is clearer than it's ever been before. I see the world in sharp contrast of black and white, movement and stillness. I smell prey. I hear language in the hooting of owls, the whistling of the wind and the snarling of woods. I am what I was born to be. Something stings me. I look around. There's a small, malformed creature pointing a stick at me. The stick blazes with fire, and there's another sting. Why did they attack you when they wanted to turn you? Yeah, I think they just wanted to turn me. The creature is no threat to me, but its presence is annoying. It smells almost silly, send me reeling, and I don't like being pricked. I rip its head off. Rip and tear! I reach out lazily and rip its head off its shoulders. Blood blooms from its neck like a beautiful flower. I throw the head toward the moon. My ears prick and I hear more creatures running blindly through the bushes. I feel better. My leg no longer stings, and I feel better than ever before. Prey! Hunt! I smell prey and I start hunting. They do not see me as I move silently through the undergrowth. The creatures are running away, their backs turned to me. I watch them and learn how they move. Suddenly, one of them turns my way. We lock glances. I attack. I don't skip a beat as I lunge at it. Close my jaws on its head. The taste is sweet. Piercing light burns my eyes. The creatures surround me. They seem to work like a pack. They are dangerous. I strike them one by one. I hide in the shadows and they are too slow, too dumb, too clueless to notice me. I strike them down one by one. Some fight back. Some manage to defend themselves briefly, but most of them don't see me coming. A new smell. The wind brings a new smell. The air tastes of fur and musk and blood. Shape moves among the trees, but there are no creatures. They are people like me. Suddenly I'm surrounded by them. I think I know them. They seem familiar. It's like I met them in the past, but they were hidden. They closed in on me. What do they want? I wait. I relax and wait for them, unflinching. They approach me and sniff the air. Their smells are overwhelmingly familiar. Once the people had sounds attached to them, but now I realize the sounds were not their true names. I look up and see no moon, only clouds and tangled branches. Something changes. Something changed and I realized how tired I was. I stumbled. Darkness. The night sky was full of stars. I opened my eyes. Confused, I opened my eyes. The forest around me was thick and dark. The tree trunks, wrapped tightly in dark-leaved ivy, were covered in ripples of lichen where the leaves hadn't taken hold. The thorny, leafless bushes at their base were overrun with nettles. The fungi radiated with a ghoulish, sickly light. Dark, sponge-like mushrooms clung to fallen trees. Something was wrong. I couldn't shake the feeling that something wasn't right. I looked down and saw my hands covered in a dark substance. I was naked. A sticky, glistening film of liquid was clinging to my skin. I could feel it on my face, in my hair. Blood. So it's the dream come to life. Whose blood was this? Had I killed someone? I knew what was coming. I remembered my dream and slowly lifted my eyes. Dead bodies were strewn around. There was a severed head right in front of me. I felt sick. The face was contorted, the eyes bulging, the mouth open, the tongue stuck out. It was obscene. I doubled over, retching. I recognized that face. It was one of the hunters, the one that had tried to stop me. It was all my fault. Screamed. No, I let out a long, blood-curdling scream. The night swallowed it. The bushes rustled, and a moment later I saw Coronel coming out from between the trees. He looked at me, at the head, at my face. He came closer and squatted beside me. This is what we were trying to tell you. His gray eyes smiled. See? You're a werewolf. I looked at him. I blinked. Everything faded to black. Damn, we got werewolfified. Chapter 4. Lost in the Woods. The morning smelled of fur, earth, and the forest. Over the gentle snoring that filled the warm space under the low-hanging branches of the old spruce tree, I heard a squirrel. I was hungry. I went outside. Stepping over the sleeping forms, I made my way outside. Alone, hiding in the tall grass, I sniffed around. The sky was bright, and the forest around me was dark and full of interesting smells. High in the trees, birds yelled about status, sex, and violence. Something was wrong with that picture. Something wasn't right. My brain wasn't working as it should. The smells were too strong. The grass was too tall. There was a quality I couldn't quite recall that was missing from the view in front of my eyes. A creature stirred in bushes nearby. A tall, dark silhouette. A strangely familiar smell. I tensed up. I watched a human as they looked around. Maya, there you are, they said when they noticed me. It was time to get out of here. I spasmed. Suddenly, a feeling like cramp or a spasm surged through me and everything changed. I was Homid, the human form. My body started resetting itself to the familiar shape, and it hurt. Bones broke and fused again. Muscles and sinews moved under my skin. I cried and thrashed. Then, panting and sweaty, I was Homid again. I hit the ground with my bare ass, colors exposed. The morning breeze suddenly became cold, and I shivered. I looked up. I'm naked. You look cold, Cornell smirked and threw me a bundle of clothes. You better not change for a while. They won't survive it. Not until you learn to write. Took the bundle. I snatched the bundle and started pulling the clothes on. Sneakers, loose-fitting jeans, a hoodie with a unicorn. They fit perfectly. I thought about the previous night. When I was raging through the forest about how differently I experienced the world through the wolf senses, and about the discomfort and confusion of changing shape, so I was a werewolf. There was no denying it. I was no longer human. Was I in trouble with the law? There was a murder last night, I said anxiously. What if they found my DNA at the crime scene? We'll take care of that. Human laws aren't as relevant for you anymore. We just stood there for a moment, comfortable in silence. I was wondering how one usually learned that they were a werewolf. I asked Coronel about his story. How did you become a werewolf? I was born a werewolf, it seems, he answered. I asked again. How did you learn you were a werewolf? I asked again. Oh, that. I was serving in Afghanistan. There was an ambush. Stuff happened. It must have been hard. It was, he sighed. They sent me home with PTSD, and once home I got found by others. They needed someone who knew how to fight. Why? We were the real eco-terrorists back then, my pack and I. But I realized that violence only breeds more violence, and it's not the way I want to follow. How come nobody knew about werewolves? It doesn't make any sense, it suddenly struck me. How come nobody knows werewolves exist? We protect the veil, was the answer. It's easy to convince humans that supernatural doesn't exist. They already want to believe that. And the delirium helps. You mean delirium as in the medical condition? I asked, remembering something that I read about acute confusional states. You'll have to ask Pat for that. But the gist of it is that humans are incapable of remembering that they saw a Krynos. He laughed. They panic, turn away, and instantly forget. Every time. Then I realized something. The wolves had awoken. At some point, the rest of the party had awoken and joined us. The clearing was full of wolves. Fudge. The wolves are closing in on me. But they weren't really wolves, were they? They were werewolves. Like me. Acceptance. The headless body was heavy. They said that, as my first kill, it was my burden. It was my duty to take it to the barrows. I got my shit again. Lifted the corpse and threw it over my shoulder. You have to balance the death you cause with your achievements. Cornell looked me in the eyes. That is the path of the Garou. He accompanied me, carrying the severed head in a bag. The others stayed behind, covering the tracks. I focused on the walk. I didn't want to talk, or to think for that matter, not about the person I was carrying, or rather trying to carry. It was just a thing. I needed to transport it from point A to point B, that was it. But the body was too heavy. I kept dragging the body, but the burden was too much to bear. I was tired and hurt, and I just couldn't do it anymore. I looked at the body, and I really wanted to say something, but I choked on my words. I curled up into a ball with my arms around my head. I couldn't. I can't, I said, and that was the only thing I could say, louder and louder, until it became a shriek. I can't, I can't, I can't. Cornell sighed and kneeled beside me. You're a werewolf. Gaia's soldier. There's nothing you can't do. Get up. We have a world to save, and you have a legacy to fulfill, and a debt to pay. He was right. I took a deep breath. He was right. I was there for a reason, and I had things to do. Suddenly, I knew what to do. Suddenly I understood. It was as if I've always known, always had the set of skills. I'd only chosen not to use them up to this point. I felt like I was about to stretch after a long day of sitting down and learning anatomy. It would be painful, but I want to do this, and if I got just a little stronger, I'd easily handle the body. I changed. Glabro! The pain was stronger than I ever imagined. I felt my muscles spasm as they rearranged themselves. My jaw cracked and my mouth filled with blood. I clenched my fists and claws drove into my palms. I screamed. When I rose, panting and sweaty, I was more than human. I was Glabro. Wolfish, strong, and scary. Basically part wolf, part human. It hurt. The change hurt more than I expected. The world shifted. Not much, but enough. I felt my teeth get sharper and muscles stronger. I picked up the body. It was a lot lighter. We went on. As we made our way through the forest, I realized we weren't alone. Somehow, I knew what I'd see before I saw it. A white weasel and a dark gray wolf. Ah, my companion smiled. I see you've noticed our patrons. Patrons? Sorry, what now, patrons? I asked. Yes, the spirits who help us fight our war. The two animals stopped in front of me in the middle of the path. We came to teach the cub, said the wolf. He smelled of ash and tears. Was I hallucinating? I couldn't believe what I saw. It made no sense. I felt as if my brain was short-circuiting, trying to interpret signals not meant for human senses. Was it really a weasel? When I turned my eyes away from the weasel, it flickered, as if it was just a projection on a broken screen. One moment, an animal. A moment later, just an idea. When it talked, the air smelled of electric discharge, and I felt like the words displayed directly in my mind that wouldn't leave me alone. But hallucinations or not, they just wouldn't leave me alone. The weasel circled me, and before I knew it, I could feel small claws on my leg, then on my back, and then on my arm. It smelled of musk and electricity, and then it bit my ear. I ignored it. Do they always do that? I asked, ignoring the spirit. Speak to me when I'm biting you, the weasel's electronic voice echoed in my head. Enough, the wolf growled, or at least that was what my brain decided to hear. I felt the weasel draw its breath. In the beginning, there was Gaia, aka Mother Earth. Then she gave birth to a mighty breed of warriors, the weasel began. It sounded electronical, like a teenager reading a Wikipedia page over a voice chat. They were called Garou, that's werewolves in werewolfish, and their sole purpose was to protect Gaia. They failed, wailed the wolf. I looked at the wolf. There was danger everywhere, shrugged the wolf when I turned to look to her for advice. When time began, Gaia released 3 primal forces upon the earth, the weaver, the wild, and the worm. The weasel continued. The wild was the untamed force of life and creation. The cold, ruthless weaver gave structure to the world, and the worm destroyed what needed to be destroyed, creating balance. Were we creatures of the wild? An untamed force of life? They were Gaia's children, the wolf snarled, born to herd and contain humans. So what went wrong? I can see that something went wrong, I smiled wryly. The weaver grew too ambitious and trapped the worm within its lifeless web, the weasel answered. Confined and denied, the worm went slowly insane, the wolf wailed. Now Gaia is dying, choked by the weaver and eaten alive by the worm, wailed the wolf. And the wild is not the one you should fight, he snarled. You were born to protect it. Then it turned and led the way. It took us to the barrows. The barrows looked just as I remembered them, but somehow calmer, warm and welcoming. Coronel kneeled near one of the mounds, put his hand on it, and whispered a few words. I saw the ground open slowly, like a mouth in the earth. I sighed. Let's do this. We put the body in the hole. We took the severed head and the body I had wrapped up in sheets and put them in the hole. It closed slowly, and I could swear I heard the trees nearby sigh in anticipation. The wolf howled, and I could feel the hair on my hands rise. Welcome to your new life, the talking white weasel grinned. We have something else to show you. I ran with them. You're a cub, so you have special privileges, said the weasel. 𝒂𝒏𝒄 will grant you a vision. You must see to understand. Think carefully before you choose what to see. The future, the present, past. You know what? I think we should see the past, because we're here to see what happened to our family, and I think that's important. It was hard to find the barrels, although I knew where they were. When I looked behind me, we were just there. The path had disappeared. I felt the 𝒂𝒏𝒄 playing with me, twisting past, blocking my way with bushes and dead trees, and suddenly something opening a new path that was straight and full of sunshine. But I pushed on. Since the change, I had become acutely aware of how my body worked, and I remembered what humans were good at: running, stubborn, relentless long-distance running. Not as fast as a deer, not as nimble as a wolf, but steady and without rest. So I ran, and I was there. The barrows. I climbed the nearest hill. When I was at the top, I stumbled on something, a shape in the grass, a skull watching me from its bleached eye sockets. I touched it. I touched it. There is a swirl. It starts deep within me, and then it expands. Everything is in motion, and there is no center anymore. See a village. A village in the forest. There's a howl of a wolf. People stop and look around, frightened. The howl is like a king. Their houses are mere huts. There's almost nothing that protects the people from the forest. Their clothes are rags. Their feet are bare. Their hair and long beards are unkempt. There are wolf cubs, and then there's blood. Then the howling begins. The mournful, blood-curdling keen of a mother who lost her children. Watch, whispers the voice in my head. Watch and remember. But I want to act. But I cannot just stand by and watch. I want to act. I weigh everything for and against the humans. I find them guilty. The forest listens to me. The forest wakes up, erupts with rage, and powerful furred bodies surge through the trees toward the village. The humans try to escape. They scream and beg for mercy. They try to protect themselves with fire. I take the fire from their hand. The 𝒌𝒄 rise up, their talons red with blood, their eyes glaze with fury, and the fire is yanked from the hands of the villagers. I burn their houses. The houses start to burn. I make the wolf mother happy. The keening turns into a howl of joy. I was there from the very beginning. My family burned villages for the 𝒂𝒏𝒄 for ages. See? The 𝒌𝒄 have my eyes, my face. They are my family. I am the blood of their blood. I am part of the story from the very beginning. And I do it again. And then it happens again. The humans return. They rebuild the village, this time stronger and better protected. The keening begins once more. Then we, the 𝒌𝒄, come down on them like wolves on the fold. And again. The internet is acting up. No worries. Don't worry about it. And again, new villages, new fires, more blood. And again. Again and again, seasons change, centuries pass. The keening continues. Villages in the forest burn, until one day there's only one 𝒌𝒄 left in the family, and he slays his own kindred in a fit of his first rage. He never forgives himself. He escapes across the ocean. He serves in an army. He burns villages in Vietnam and Afghanistan, but it just feels different. He never forgives himself. He wants to go back. He tells his granddaughter stories about the forest, but he never goes back. Can't move. I stay there and I watch, but I can't move. My throat burns. My stomach is in knots. I want to scream, but I have no mouth. I feel the fire. I smell the blood. I smell ash and tears. I see the large ash-gray wolf looking straight at me. Her eyes are golden. She weeps. It is in your blood, she says to me. It is in your duty. It is in you. It is you. Come with me, child. Be my fangs and claws. There is no one else to be my cub. Come to me, child. I will nurse you, and I will lick your wounds. We will kill together. We will feast, and we will be merry. The forest will grow. I looked at her. And perhaps for the first time, I saw her for who she was. Her pelt was marked with fire. Her eyes were smoking embers. Ash was falling from her heaving flanks. She looked old, ancient, seething with anger. She was mourning incarnated. She was the very idea of mourning, made flesh, driven by the feeling of loss so profound that it burned everything in its way. But she was more than that. She was also the 𝒂𝒏𝒄. She was the spirit of the forest, the 𝒂𝒏𝒄 herself, wounded, hurt, violated, and mourning all her children that humans had killed. At least that's what I thought when I looked at her. The wolf mother looked back at me, and something in her eyes made me realize that she was helping my family for generations, and that my family used to serve her. Join me, she pleaded. Only you can understand me. Only you. I went to her. And she accepted, and accepted myself. And I finally understood who I was. Darkness fell again, and a bloody tide was loosed upon the world. Darkness. A lone howl pierced the silence like a single ray of moonlight in the darkness. Then there was another one, then another, and another, a choir of voices, triumphant and joyful. I opened my eyes. When I opened my eyes, I was in a clearing. Around me there were wolves, huge, monstrous wolves, howling at the moon. I joined them. The pain was overwhelming. My spine cracked and twisted. My knees and ankles broke, and I fell on the ground. My jaw shattered and rearranged itself. My whole skin was on fire, rippling and sprouting fur. I howled in agony. When I rose, panting and spitting blood, I was Hispo, with strong paws, mighty jaws, and a mane of fur, more than a wolf, scary and monstrous. Instinctively I changed and joined the choir. My voice was unsteady at first, but soon I found my own note, a unique addition to the chorus. Well, hello there! Coronel smiled at me, and welcome to the sept. I just listened. I'm back. Welcome back, Li Minchun. What's going on? We became a werewolf, and now we're gonna try and stop logging, I think. That's basically it. We took a long time to realize we are a werewolf. I realized that my survival depended on learning very quickly, so I just nodded and listened. For a werewolf, the pack is family, Cornell explained. And an alliance of packs united in a common goal is a sept. So there were 2 packs there. I looked at Coronel. A great gray-eyed wolf changed into Coronel, and soon Pat and Kim joined him. We are the Winter Weasel pack, said Kim. A white shadow settled on Pat's shoulder. I smelled musk and electricity. Looked at Olga. 3 of the monstrous wolf changed. Olga and Lisa stood up, human-looking again, their clothes rumpled. A yellow-eyed wolf by their side turned out to be Daniel. We are the pack of the mourning wolf mother, said Olga. They smelled of ash and tears, and for a moment I saw the wolf spirit among them. We are all Gaia's soldiers, that we have no choice, but we can choose whom we fight alongside. Who was winning the war? At the moment, the worm, Cornell said. The word reeked of decay and burning oil. Mother Earth is sick, dying, and we are doing our best to protect her. Did I have to join a pack? I asked just to make sure. No Garou can survive on their own, Cornell said with sympathy. Your old human life is over, but we will never abandon you. I had so many questions. What about the moon? Why did I hear the moon whispering? I asked. Luna gave us a rage. That's why she's important, Olga said. And that is why you'll never be able to touch silver again. What was every sept that diverse? We are from all over Europe, I noticed. Is this like a standard for a sept? Okay, Coronel. I didn't even know if that was a stupid question or a smart one. I looked at Coronel. It's far from the standard, but desperate times make strange bedfellows. He smiled sadly. Normally a sept is dominated by 1 tribe, maybe 2. There are at least a dozen tribes, Daniel interrupted. And I hope, Maya, that you will choose yours wisely. How did the spirits work? What about the spirits? I asked. How does that work? The world casts a shadow, and we call it the Umbra. And in the shadow, every living creature, every emotion and idea, every important object exists as a spirit. That's all you need to know at the moment. Summed it up. So if I got all this right, I have been conscripted into an ancient war against the worm, I said slowly, trying to put it all together. And the moon gave me rage as a weapon, but I must avoid silver. A breath. And there's a whole secret world of spirits, I continued, and I have to join a pack and choose a tribe. Exactly, Lisa nodded. As for the tribe, there are 2 people who could mentor you now. Olga is from the Black Furies, an ancient tribe of woman warriors, and Coronel is from the Children of Gaia, and he's more of a peace and harmony guy. How about my family tribe? Hey, what about my family's tribe? I asked. Lisa winced, Daniel sighed, Olga shook her head. What was the matter? Your ancestors were the 𝑧𝒕𝒓𝒆𝒂𝒂𝒏, and no one here wants to have anything to do with that tribe, Cornell answered. They stand against everything we believe in. Were they really that bad? 𝑧𝒕𝒓𝒆𝒂𝒏 are the most radical Garou supremacists that ever marred the face of the earth, Kim scoffed. Like legit fascist werewolves. Fascist werewolves, oh my god. Someone that literally worked for Hitler. That's not good. I had the right to know my legacy. Thank you for telling me, I said. I had the right to know to learn where I came from. For a moment, we were all silent. There were a lot of werewolves here. One thing is bugging me. Why are there so many of you here? Suddenly, everyone in 𝑭𝒏𝒂𝒔 is a werewolf or what? You know nothing of Olga sighed bitterly. A mere century ago, there were dozens of packs in these forests, but none of the old guards survived the 90s. Lisa shook her head. We had to start from scratch. Until you showed up, there were only 6 of us, and 3 of us not even local, Cornell pointed out. 2 packs too small for their own good. I needed to know more about the tribes. I wanted to learn more about the tribes and find an option that would really resonate with who I was. Talk to Pat. Pat was a glass walker, and her tribe was finding its niche in cutting-edge technological cityscapes. Among the strands of the weaver's net, it sounded intriguing. We talked for a while. You get a spirit patron. How did you get the winter weasel to be your patron? I was curious. I caught it, said Pat. Or rather, I made sure it would have more to eat with me than alone. That's how you catch weasels. Was it a forest spirit? But it's a forest spirit, isn't it? I think it's a weasel, so it gets accustomed to live where there is food. And right now it's the city. It hunts electricity spirits these days and feasts on them. So you are basically a city dweller, I observe. All glass walkers are. It's our natural habitat. I feel quite out of place in the forest. But the pushcha is our home. Why? I couldn't understand. The pushcha is our home. It may be your home, she said, and suddenly I realized we had less in common than I thought. I'm more of a city girl, she added. We use the weaver to fight the worm. The forest is not the weaver's domain, and I happen to be quite fond of humanity. They have great potential. She didn't look like a werewolf at all. I wouldn't take you for a werewolf, you know, said Pat. She snorted. Why? She looked harmless. You look mostly harmless, I admitted. She shrugged. I am, and I didn't expect to turn out a werewolf either. I was a student, happy with my tablet and coding, and then boom! I was a guru. How did you meet Coronel? How did you meet Coronel? I was curious. I was in his first pack. We were both hanging out with the hacktivist crowd back then. When things went south and he disappeared, I found him. How? Pat rolled her eyes. Girl, please, I'm a tech nerd. So I found him and talked him into coming back. I had to think it over. Finally, I stopped asking. I had to think over what I learned. I don't want to talk to everyone. I didn't want to talk anymore. But I was too exhausted to bug them with personal questions. Anyway, before you're admitted to a tribe, you need to prove yourself. What? Prove myself? I was shocked. Hadn't I proved myself enough already? You went through your first change, Pat said. She was leaning on a tree nearby, and you know everything you need to know at the moment. But you have to go through the rite of passage. Daniel rubbed his against my flank, excited. A vision quest. Kim winked at me. And since we don't have time for the tests, we need you to solve a real problem. Olga stepped in. Namely, we want you to find a way of ending your slogging problem, Cornell said gently. So how would you like to do it? They all looked at me in anticipation. I took my time. Enjoying the moment, my body was buzzing with energy, ready to shift shape on the slightest sign of danger. My mind was clear. I knew what to do. We need to understand the enemy. We need to understand why the loggers are doing this, I decided, and make them change their mind. Kim looked convinced. Never mind the loggers. Kim made a dismissive gesture with her hand. We have to inspire the protesters. Lisa rolled her eyes. You are all blind and ignore our most powerful ally. Lisa rolled her eyes. There are many ancient spirits in the pushcha and we should talk to them. And continue with my plan. There must be someone responsible for the shit in 𝑭𝒏𝒂𝒔 here at the local level. I continued. I want to have a talk with them. Cornell bared his teeth in a predatory smile. I know exactly who we should talk to. I mean, they're paid to? Exactly. We just give them more money and then they'll stop. Right? No? They'll find more people, I assume. Doesn't matter, I guess. Daniel beamed. Spoken like a true philodux. You were born under a half moon, weren't you, Maya? How did he know? Mom always told me that when she gave birth to me, the half moon was shining through the window, reminding her that this too shall pass. I nodded. I got an achievement for being a half moon. The rule born under the half moon are judges and truth seekers, said Coronel. Just like you and me, a worthy philodox is honor personified. Your place in the werewolf society will be determined by your renown. You can earn glory through defeating mighty enemies. You can earn honor by following your moral imperative. You can earn wisdom by acting efficiently. Your renown will change as you play. No pressure at all. I feel overwhelmed. Olga must have sensed my confusion. Come on, we have a lot to discuss. She patted my shoulder. You have to find your phone and your wallet, so I followed her. I had to tie up loose ends in my old life. I was sitting on a bus, the sun streaming through the windows is making it hard to see. The narrow road cuts through a dense old forest. My mind wanders. I remember doing something important, walking among the trees, looking for something, losing something I loved, gaining something I wanted. But then I'm fully awake and the memories scatter away. We're almost there, says Anya. I did some searching. She looks at me from over her phone. And this place is amazing. The last primordial forest in Europe. Is this game really ending soon? We just passed tutorial. Yeah, I think it should be ending soon. I don't know. Yeah, I'm excited to be there. I know, right? I can't. I'm not able to finish. I start to cough. Spit blood. My throat is sore. My lungs hurt. I need to stop the bus. I get up and shout to the driver, but I feel something sticky on my hand and torso. Something stopping me. Spiders! I am crawling with small spiders, thousands of them, weaving their cobwebs around me, around the seat, around everything. I try to get out. I thrash at the window, but a few seconds later I am bound in the cobweb cocoon. There's a hiss. I hear a hiss. Then slowly a long, dark, bloody shape comes out of Anya's eye socket, pushing the eye out. A black snake that reeks of rotten meat, acid, and oil. Don't fight, Maya. You're already mine, it says, just like your grandpa. Then it kisses me. Chapter 5. The Plan. I woke up in my bed in the bed and breakfast, and for a moment thought the whole werewolf business had been a dream. Then I heard muffled giggling, looked up, and saw Anya and Bartek looking at me from the other bed. You caught us, but I thought you'd stay with your German friends a bit longer, said Bartek, embarrassed. We knew you were all right, Anya chimed in. There was so much to talk about. I didn't know where to start. I was worried about them. Are you all right? I was worried about you. Yeah, said Anya, scratching her head. After we were separated in the forest, I got lost and Bartek found me. And we, ended up here. I sighed with relief. They were telling me what they thought was true. They had no recollection of seeing werewolves. So Pat was right. The human mind couldn't cope with seeing a Krynos. And when the delirium ended, the subconsciousness patched the holes in their memory with something rational. How are you feeling? Asked Anya. How was I? I'm alright. Sorry for disappearing so suddenly, I said. Because what else could I say? I told a version of the truth. I got lost in the forest. Technically, that part wasn't a lie. Then stumbled on the activist, and I kinda got carried away. I wanted to tell her everything. I packed my bag in silence. I felt a rift growing between me and Anya, and I felt a sudden urge to tell her everything. But I couldn't. But I wasn't allowed to. I was a guru, and I had a sacred duty to protect the veil hiding us from mortal eyes. I sighed and continued packing. So are you leaving? Asked Bartek. What about your family history? I didn't know how to answer. I shrugged. Whatever the answer was, it was now Maya the werewolf's problem. Maya the student was dead. Let us know when you figure it out, said Bartek. We'll be waiting. Anya hugged me. I mumbled something, took my bag, and left. I dropped my bags in the camp and ran through the plan one more time. They expected me to act like a philodox, but we also discussed other plans, both more sophisticated. Yeah, we'll do the philodox thing, whatever that is. With Olga's pack, social connection, and Coronel's pack's technological wizardry, we followed the money and found out who was paying the loggers and security guards. Behind all the ideology and politics, it was all just business. We had to stop the money flowing. They were cutting down trees because someone was paying them to do it. We decided to stop the money flowing. Finally, we were ready. After a few days of stakeouts and preparations, we identified our target and were ready to move. We started with the kidnapping. We let him out in the forest. I let Coronel take the lead. Coronel yanked the bag off the man's face. I lifted a flashlight and shined it in his eyes so he couldn't see us. The man reeked of fear and sweat. I got into my role. I squared my shoulders and cleared my throat to lower my voice. I didn't want him to recognize me. Because the man was the local logging industry was Bartek's father. Oof. Poor Bartek's father. But that didn't matter. But our personal connections didn't matter. That night I wasn't a person, but a philodox, Gaia's justice. The man whimpered and shielded his eyes. It was time to deliver my message. I explained how things were. Here's the deal. You stop the logging, I explained as clear as I could, and in return, you and your family can enjoy a safe future. One without strange accidents, fires, and misfortunes. He almost shat his pants. I could smell it, but he decided to play the tough guy. Put you off, you b-b-b! He yelled. I'm going to make your life a fledgling misery. Just you wait. I know the chief of the police and no MPs. You won't get away with this. Who do you think you are? Oh, I'll show you who I am, I said quietly. I felt Coronel tense by my side, but he said nothing. And watch. Changed. To become Glamour. My muscles spasmed and rearranged themselves. My jaw cracked and my mouth filled with blood. I clenched my fists and claws drove into my palms. Panting and whimpering, I changed. I was more than human, wolfish, strong, scary. I know who you are, I growled in deep, inhuman voice. A small, sad, fat man who is only good at owing money and being despised by his own wife. I could smell his fear. And I was glad. I know where you live, I growled. I know where you sleep, and I know when you wake up. We're watching your every move. He looked at me in the eyes, transfixed, like a deer caught in the headlights. His lower lip started to tremble. That was just the beginning. Run, I kicked him. I said run. The night was still young. It was a long hunt. And I made sure that it was fair. I let him rest from time to time, but I never let him forget that he was being hunted. I made him run. I made him sweat, and I made him fear. I enjoyed the hunt. Coronel and I, we made a good team. In the end, the man was cowering on the ground, crying and shaking. It's me! I leaned to him. I'm always watching. I growled in his ear. Please don't kill me, he moaned. I'll do whatever you want. I'll tell people to leave. I'll stop at anything. Just don't kill me. We were done. You judged someone and found him guilty. That was all I wanted to hear. Keep to your end of the bargain, and I'll keep mine. I promised and walked away. We left him in the middle of the forest. I couldn't wait for the set meeting that morning. Punishing the local lobbyists was my rite of passage, and I knew that I did great. The plan had been sound and perfectly executed. We met soon after the sunrise. On the same clearing where I woke up for the first time as a Garou, Lisa looked at us all and smiled. Our patrons were looking at her expectantly, so she stepped towards the center of the clearing. I am the Theurge, a mystic of this sept, and I am here to make sure we do things the right way. I held my breath. She turned to me and I held my breath. Maya, come forth. Are you a cub who seeks recognition as an adult? I answered. I am, I answered solemnly. Are you an applicant to a tribe? Lisa asked again. I confirmed. I am, I answered. Who speaks for the cub? Lisa looked at her set mates. I do. Coronel stepped forward. I am blind prophet of the children of Gaia, Philodox of the Winter Weasel Pack. I observed the cub on her mission, and I'm here to tell the story. But I have to take a new name? I guess they all had secret werewolf names. It made sense. A new life demanded a new name. Would I also have to take a new name? As the cub passed her challenge, asked Lisa. I held my breath. I knew how it all happened, but I held my breath nevertheless. She succeeded, was the answer. She fought bravely against overwhelming odds, and she succeeded. Lisa turned to me. Have you chosen your name? Lisa turned to me. My new secret name! Suddenly, I remembered my grandfather talking about his old friends. He never used their real names. They were always Thunder or Gray or Needle. I always thought it was a gorilla thing, some kind of war names. Now I wasn't so sure anymore. How to capture my whole life, my aspirations, my personality, my heritage in one name. I cleared my throat. Mist. Okay, wait. We can pick the Polish name, but we gotta know how to pronounce it first. Scala, we become a rock. My new name is Scala, a rock, I answered, imagining an anchor that would allow me to keep an unbiased judgment. As for the tribe, Skawa. Okay, Skawa. Choosing the tribe was another matter. A black fury, a child of Gaia, or a glass wall. I guess it makes more sense to be a child of Gaia. After getting to know both Olga and Coronel better, I decided to join the Children of Gaia. Coronel agreed to mentor me. Only one thing remained to end the ceremony and make me a full-fledged Garou. I had to join a pack. I had already sworn to the Wolf Mother. Oops. So, Coronel mentors me, but I have to join Olga. Whoop. As my fate had already been tied to the Wolf Mother, I chose her as my patron and joined Olga's pack, and so it was done. I guess it's like I go join both sides, I guess. According to ancient rites, Lisa painted the mystical glyph of my tribe on my sternum. It had disappeared after a moment, but whenever I closed my eyes, I could feel its warm touch between my breasts. Skawa of the Children of Gaia, Philodox of the Morning Wolf Mother pack, welcome to our set, she said solemnly. Then she howled. Owls rose toward the sky. They sang out ancient laws of war, status, and secrecy. I remembered only a few. Combat the worm whenever it dwells and whenever it breathes. Submit to those of higher station. Respect those beneath you. The veil shall not be lifted. I joined the song. I threw my head back and howled with myself. I was a cub no more. I was ready to tell my own stories, to earn my own place in the pack, to howl my own songs. Want to awoo? I can't awoo. I wish my dog was here. I'll get my dog to awoo. He did awoo in one video though. She was like awooing so hard. Chapter 6? Another chapter? It was one of those blistering summer days when the asphalt melts, the grass withers, and the air smothers those brave enough to step outside. Despite the heat, it felt like the whole village was at the funeral. I was there as well. Who died? I stood there, surrounded by the grieving crowd, looking at the rosaries they clutched in their fists. It was surreal. One of the hunters had been found dead near the place of power. Nobody knew exactly what had happened to it. There were whispers of rabid wolves. There had been more deaths over the last days, but they slipped under the radar. We've been careful in covering our tracks. Or nobody had connected the dots yet. Did they die because they deserved it? Or did they happen to be in the wrong place at the wrong time, in company of someone who couldn't hold her temper? Was that justice, or yet another sin demanding to be avenged? I could feel the tension seething around me. This death, this funeral had pushed the community, already wary and frightened by the recent disappearances in the forest, to the edge. The world was watching. The press had swarmed to the funeral like flies. They were reporting on how illegal logging was a danger to both the ecosystem and human lives. The police were watching the crowd with disinterest as they leaned lazily against the trees. It had become political. Suddenly, 𝒂💏 had become politically charged and the hottest place to be in Poland. And it wasn't only local politicians and activists from both sides who caught wind of the commotion. The Minister of Environment himself had driven to 𝒊𝒏𝒂𝒎 to attend the funeral. He was standing next to the priest conducting the ceremony, surrounded by police and what looked like a handful of bodyguards. The coffin went down and the crowd stirred. Everyone started lining up to throw a handful of dust on the coffin or put flowers on the grave. Felt someone joining me. Just look at them, said Lisa, joining me. Nobody wants us here. They fear us, but would never admit that. I wish things were different. They have their reasons, I sighed. I wish things could be different. They would want us gone if it weren't for the Guru. She scoffed. From the outside were activists fighting for the Pusha, but for the local were just strangers barging in and telling them what to do with their lives. We had to give them time. We just need them to get them time to use to us. The problem is not going to disappear and finally they'll join us. Nevertheless, she was right. The crowd was not happy seeing us there, and the minister knew how to use that sentiment. I listened in disbelief as the priest handed him the mic. He wasn't someone you called a good speaker. He repeated some platitudes, but it was clear he'd only come to show his face and tighten the leash on the local logging company. The crowd listened, alert. It was our move. I realized the conflict was only going to escalate. What he didn't know was that the local loggers weren't being paid anymore, and the locals were on our side. We were ready to defend ourselves. It was high noon. The sun was at its most merciless, and the world was almost white with heat. The air smelled of herbs, bark, and tree sap. Insects buzzed lazily in the high grass, stunned by the summer sun. We were ready for war. I watched the clearing, with cold detachment running through the possible scenarios in my mind. There were so many of us. People kept coming to the camp, asking questions, looking for ways to help. Students, activists, even Greenpeace with banners reading "Stop Logging" and "Respect EU Law." The Pusha was watching us. Every time a gust of wind was bringing the wet smell of the forest to my nostrils, I felt her strong, steadfast presence. She knew that we were doing everything in our power to save her. I thought about my family. Welcome, Paladin's James. How's the story so far? I think we're near the end, but I can't tell. It felt very final, and now it also feels very final. So far, we're trying to stop logging, and we're a werewolf. Found that out. For centuries, my family served the Pusha, burning villages and hunting down people who dared to hurt her, and now I was the last Guru of my lineage. What legacy did I want to leave behind? I looked at the harvesters. I looked at the shiny new harvesters lurking across the clearing. They were only manned by a skeleton crew now that the local funding had been cut. The pressure had been almost palpable, and tempers were flaring. I looked at my pack. Everyone knows what to do? Olga asked, looking at my pack. I'll keep the security guards occupied, nodded Lisa, and I'll guard the Pusha's perimeter, growled Daniel. I glanced at the weasels. The weasels were in their positions among the protesters, as agreed. That left the cops to me. I was ready to fight them. I'll deal with the cops, I said, and then we will burn the machines. That's not the plan, Olga reminded me, with a bitter expression. Keep your eyes on the cops and stay put. Cops were gathering. The police were nervous, huddling in groups and shouting at each other and everyone who was in their way. Something was up. Good morning! Good morning, Yoko! Welcome! How you doing? And then it reached boiling. When the minister arrived for a photo op, we had attracted some attention. We attracted a lot of attention, for better or worse. I knew he was in for a nasty surprise. The reporters closed in on him, shooting uncomfortable questions about the legality of the logging and his forestry policy. In hindsight, we could argue what happened next set a chain of events in motion that had life-changing consequences for many. Whoa, what were you reading, Yoko? Burning metal machines is hard, that is true. But at that moment, I didn't know that. But at that moment, I was way past thinking. I was action incarnate, one with myself and the world around me, focused and in the flow. The members of my SEP had already moved to their positions, and I also had my part today. It was our chance to start negotiations. Olga raised her eyebrow. If you think there's any sense in talking to them, she smirked. Now's the fudging time. She grabbed me by the elbow and literally dragged me across the clearing to where the minister and his people were standing. I got this. 𝒊𝒏𝒂𝒔. I see. What kind of book is it? I knew what to do. Stop treating me like a cub. You can't do anything, Olga replied. Just watch. Minister, minister, she yelled. Do you have a moment to talk about what's really going on in the forest? I caught his gaze. He looked at us coldly, like we were vermin. His eyes were distinctly dark and lifeless, like a shark, I thought suddenly. No, he said, smiling. We don't talk to terrorists. He smelled of the worm, and I gladly had bitten his face off, but we had bigger fish to fry. I wrapped my arms around Olga's chest and pulled her back before she could jump at him. Save your strength, I barked. We'll find another way. I have one last card on my sleeve. Fantasy adventure. It's a Cosmere. Oh, okay. I get it. When you say Cosmere, I get it now, because I read Yumi and the Nightmare Paint, which is also part of the Cosmere, apparently. Minister, do you know that all your local contractors deflected? I looked to the official in the eyes. It doesn't matter. He looked at me like I was a child. We could use foresters, we could use territorial defense force, but we won't have to. People have to eat. They'll come work for us. They have no other choice. But he looked shaken. But he didn't see that coming, and for a moment looked shaken. Then he composed himself and looked at me with disgust. He kept talking. But think how much it would cost. I looked at the official in the eyes. Do you think you will still be a minister when it ends? I could see that he was an apt politician and that he could smell a deal for himself in it all, but I didn't really care, and I managed to get his attention. You have Sunlit Man to read and Yumi. I see. Yeah, Yumi is a cute little book. It's very anime. When the talk started, we weren't alone. After we stopped the local lobbyists, we noticed locals coming to our camp to ask questions. At first, we were wary of them, but soon we realized they were genuinely interested in learning new ways they could coexist with their forests. So we started talking, and became big. I don't know what tipped the scales in the end. The press, the international attention, the local interest coming together, our passion. The talks weren't easy. Finally, an agreement was within our reach, but the talks weren't easy. The state forests, the woodworkers, the local population, ecologists, scientists, activists, everyone wanted something. I was by means not an expert, but I wanted to play my part in the proceedings. I made sure the talks were fair. So I decided to observe the talks, make sure everything was okay. Both sides could use someone unbiased, with an analytical approach. The talks went on and on. Of course, I had my opinions. Everyone at the scene had their own opinion and their own point of view, and I had mine. Let's take the bark beetle. In the middle of it all, of course, was the spruce bark beetle, such a convenient excuse for extensive and illegal logging. The beetle had always been a part of the forest ecosystem, pointed out one of the ecologists, but the recent droughts made the spruce more susceptible than ever. The foresters countered. We have to cut down the trees to stop a total disaster. I saw one problem with this approach. We cut the wrong trees. They were cutting down trees that had already been dead to stop the spread that had to target trees that were freshly infected. Their approach was just ineffective. You fetishize the forest, scoffed one of the officials. People cultivated it for hundreds of years, and it cannot survive without our help. He's right. You want to take our forest from us, a group of locals attacked the activists. You're not from here, and you just tell us how to live our lives. I could see their point. I knew how it was. Most of them worked in the woodworking industry, and the access to the forest was being blocked by more and more dead trees. It was dangerous. I could see why they were scared. Opinions clashed, tempers flared, and eventually new constructive ideas started to emerge. At least one of them caught my attention. The whole area should be the national park. There was a recurring idea to make all forests in the area a part of the 𝑭𝒐𝒏𝒂𝒔 National Park. The logging would be impossible, but there would be much more money from tourism. It was a long and hot day. I rubbed my eyes. I was so tired I could barely keep them open. My head was spinning, but I kept going. I was a little heat stroke when so much was at stake. The talks continued. Of course, they would have to make it dramatic. There were cameras, there were lights. The negotiations lasted all day long. We reached the first draft of an agreement literally at sunset. I had no doubts. They'd only decided to stop the logging because they realized there was something in it for them. Or they were lying to us the whole time. As I said, I didn't trust them at all. But relief. But at that moment, I just looked up at the sky and laughed. I felt overwhelming relief. And then my exhaustion caught up with me. I found a quiet spot, sank to the ground, and fell asleep. Epilogue. Cheering of the crowd woke me up. It was a victory after all. We'd won. The pusher was safe, at least for the time being. People were excited, antsy, full of emotions. If the loggers hadn't left, they probably would have charged at them. I was glad we opened open conflict. We avoided a battle, which I considered my greatest victory. Still, we all needed to blow off steam, so we partied. Soon we were all dancing, talking, singing, and in some cases making out in the shadows. I had to stop someone from making a fire. I mean, for fuck's sake, we were in the middle of the forest during a drought. But my friends didn't join in the festivities. They just sat on the logs looking at the humans with weary eyes. I joined them. I found my pack. We sat in the shadows, far from the humans. Look at them, murmured Olga. Loud, messy, stupid. Tomorrow this place will look worse than if we'd let them do the logging. Smiled. Look on the bright side. The trees are still standing. I smiled, and we'll pick up the trash tomorrow. I'm not here to pick up their trash, growled Olga, but there was a warmer glint in her eyes as she looked at the trees we saved. Olga looked at them for some time. Well, maybe with some time they'll turn this energy into something more useful. We'll have to wait and see. I wasn't so sure. If I shared her optimism, time would tell who was right. We gathered in the clearing in which I'd first woken up as a garou. Lisa stood in the middle of the clearing, the wolf and the weasel by her side. Now, she said, looking at Cornel and Olga, you two, you need to solve this. Today. Olga nodded. There was a sadness in her eyes. You were right, she said to Cornel. I'm sorry. That night, we planned the future. That night was long and full of hope. Olga and Cornel reached an agreement. Olga talked with Cornel for a very long time, and later that night, she asked us to join them. They decided they wanted to lead our pack together, as a leading pair, just like in real wolf packs. Lisa and our patrons made sure they did right. By Garou law and the set matters were resolved, but more happened that summer. I didn't cover everything that happened that summer though, so some consequences will have to unravel with time. Daniel introduced me to the wolves. Daniel introduced me to the wild wolf packs living in the forest. We would spend a lot of time with them searching about for the lost Garou cubs we hoped were out there. Anya and Bartek were still alive. Despite everything that happened, Anya and Bartek were still alive. They had a summer fling they will both remember with a smile. We would disappear from each other's lives slowly, our paths too different to keep up with each other. But it was all still ahead of me. For now, the first chapter of my new life was coming to an end. I'd come here to learn about my roots. I dug my hand deeper into my pockets. My family had fought the humans who invaded the forest for generations, and now there I was, making pacts of non-aggression with the loggers. Was I a traitor, or was I the one who'd finally got it right? Take a last look at my character sheet, but why? I have a lot of honor. Okay. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Okay, the clearing was empty and full of sunlight. The harvesters were gone, leaving the scars of their treks behind. People were cleaning up the campsite, making plans to turn the temporary protest site into a permanent tent town. Took a breath. The air was sweet and smelled of coming rain. The upturned soil smelled of turf and the sweet aroma of decay. There would be a storm later that day. I could feel it. A faint, sharp layer of electricity surrounded the wetness. I smiled. I liked my new sense of smell. This is not the end, said the ash-gray wolf. I assume you know that, I sighed. Of course I knew. It was just a momentary break, a truce that both sides needed to regroup and reinforce. Yeah, I know. I saw it looking around. I had something else on my mind. There was a squirrel somewhere. I could smell it. I wanted to chase it, to run, to feel the thrill of adrenaline rushing through my veins, but I couldn't spot it. It mocked me from the branches above, squeaking curses in its squirrel tongue. I couldn't see it, but I ran anyway. I doubled down in pain. I got an achievement for being friend with the pushcha. My arms and legs cracked and twisted. My skull fractured and reset itself in a different shape, fragments of bones crawling under the skin. My skin was rippling and sprouting fur. I howled in agony. When the pain subsided, I was lupus, a wolf, seeing the world in smells and sounds. So I just ran for the thrill of it. Ian! You have finished! Heart of the Forest. Cubs, gather around the fire and listen to the story of Maya Borodich, known among the Guru as Skawa of the children of Gaia, bulldogs of the Morning Wolf Mother Pack. Her judgments were always honorable. Maya managed to negotiate a fragile peace and stop the harvests, but would it hold? The first protest against the logging of 𝑦𝒏𝒂𝒔 forest took place in 2016. The game was loosely inspired by those events. All characters and events depicted in this game are entirely fictitious. And so, we finished. Oh my god, that's so loud! Sorry that is loud. Oh my god. My ears. My ears. Oh my god, my ears. Ow, my ears. I'm sorry. Ow, my ears as well. Damn. It just like got jump scared. I also got jump scared. What the heck? I'm sorry, guys. You guys got jump scared. Everybody got woken up. I don't need to hear anything anyway. You like it better than the first one? Yeah, I think this is a nice, more compact little game. Than I mean the one we played first. Wait, let me change. I think the one we played first is a bit long-winded, but I think this one's nice and kind of like compact little experience. But unfortunately, I don't think I can play it in the other game because I think my throat is kind of talked out. So we'll remove the we'll remove Vampire the Masquerade from the descriptions and stuff real quick. Because it's supposed to be like 2 hours, but I guess reading it out loud makes it like about 3 hours. Drink some water. Drink some water. You talked a lot. I did talk a lot. Yum 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 yum. Oh, how you guys doing today? Oh my god, my throat. A lot of reading. Yeah, a lot of reading. Quite a bit of reading. There's a lot of achievements you can get apparently. So you could probably get like different ways you can do things. Like you could probably fight or like do a lot more things. I think you can have a lot more like endings actually. I can't play this kind of game. You need the visual novels. You need to learn the need to read more. I don't know. I just like to I just like World of Darkness, so I've been playing more World of Darkness game. There seemed to be a lot of opportunities to F shit up. Yeah, that's true. At every turn it was like, do you want to F shit up? Do you want to F shit up? Are you sure you don't want to F shit up? That kind of felt like it. Also, guys, Vampire the Masquerade Bloodlines 1 is 50% off right now. It's a good game. So if you like Vampire the Masquerade, and even though we just played a werewolf game, you should play it. Yeah. Yeah. Now I'm trying to see like what kind of. Oh, there's a Hunter the Reckoning game that came out. I'll add that to my wish list. Really? Until when? I don't know. Let me check real. I'll help you check once. The sale is until 4th of December. So you got quite some time to decide whether or not you want to buy Vampire the Masquerade's Bloodlines 1. Nice! I wonder how Hunter games go. 4th December, birthday mentioned. Woo. Is that your birthday, Yoko? Oh, Yoko's birthday. I wonder how Hunter game go. I think one of the vampire games is basically a Hunter game. I don't know why they put it as a vampire. Get my birthday's game. I see. Have a nice birthday. Hope you have a nice birthday that day. Let's see. I wonder if it's just on sale. Also, okay, well, I'll go to the bathroom real quick. Be right back. I'm back! Wait, what are you guys talking about? Where's the be? Oh my god! What you guys saying such nice things? It's not my birthday. That's next month. My birthday's next month. But thank you. Thank you for the kind compliment. What are you doing today? I think we'll talk for maybe like a bit before we end. Will Briar have birthday stream? Yes, we will have birthday stream. I'm going to have a really long birthday stream. Briar is not stinky. Yeah, not stinky. Thanks, Meow. I'm not stinky. Not stinky. Stinky. Oh yeah, that reminds me. So, what? Will there be birthday merch? There will not be birthday merch. But I'll probably do like a long stream on my birthday. Is that bad? Is that okay? Okay, birthday stream. Yeah, birthday stream. Will there be cake? I'll get the cake. My birthday Among Us collab. There will not be Among Us, but that could be fun. December 26th is Friday. It is Friday. You bake and you get your cake. I will become a cake. I will turn into a cake. What kind of cake does Briar like? I like red velvet. Oh my god, Jolene Biggies! Hello, Jolene Biggies. Welcome. How are you, Jolene Biggies? Oh, wait. You like big cake? What kind of cake? I like brownie cake. Brownies are very tasty. Will agree. Brownies are big tasty. Cheesecake. Cheesecake is also tasty. WZ. What's WZ? Black Forest. Black Forest is also. All cakes are tasty. I like frosting. Yeah, I like frosting. But it also depends on the frosting. Because some places they don't have the tasty frosting. Jiggly cheesecake. It's the times when you like slap it and then it starts jiggling. I don't like cream on cake, Jar. I hate the white cream. You don't like cream? Man. Well, I like cream. Cream good. Don't like cream. It's okay. Everyone's got their own preference. I like thick chocolate. You like chocolate? I feel like chocolate cake very sweet though. Firm cheesecakes at Cheesecake Fair. One of the fluffy cheesecakes. And I think it depends on the cheese. I kind of like I guess, is it the New York style? But sometimes I feel like the New York style is kind of too strong. I like it more on the sweet side. So maybe like a New York one with like the fluffy Japanese kind. Like a fusion maybe. Has Briar ever tried blueberry cheesecake from Secret Recipe? I have not. Cause like from the Secret Recipe, I haven't had Secret Recipe cakes in a long time. It's chocolate cake, thick cream, and fine layer of jam. Ooh. Oh, so it's kind of like Black Forest, but with jam, I guess. But chocolate. And with a wing for your homesick. New York burnt Japanese, all types of cheesecakes. Yeah, cheesecakes. Secret Recipe makes good cakes. It depends on the cake. I feel like some of the cakes are not good, but I think it's more of a personal preference. Because I feel like some of the, especially the chocolate cakes, I don't like. But that's just me. I don't like things that are too sweet. I'm gonna get one tomorrow. You gonna get a cake? A cheesecake? A tasty one? A good one? Oh, and we have ramen go. I'm not even gonna try and pronounce it. Which is jelly with a lot of milk because it's super fluffy. Ooh, kind of like an egg pudding or milk pudding. I like the blueberry cheesecake, the Secret Recipe. I see. I know there's a secret recipe here. Maybe I can try and get one as well. But I don't really feel like eating cakes recently. Maybe when I feel like eating cake, I'll go over and get one. I can get like a slice, right? I don't need to get like a whole cake. Maybe Briar should try it on my birthday. On my birthday! Similar structure, but fluffy. I see. A fluffy. Well, it's not cake, but a fluffy jelly pudding. Has Brad ever heard tradition to eat minced and red eggs on the... Oh, minced! Yes, I have heard of it, but my family don't do those traditions usually. A whole cake for one person is a lot. Yeah! A big ass cake for a big ass cake for a big donkey. Big bakery. None of my family members do it. I see. We still have cake. Cake is good. I usually have to buy my own cake. What is minced? Minced is basically a type of noodles. Usually you eat on your birthdays. But you can also eat it on other days. It's just a type of noodle, basically. Fried meat, she's caked up, confirmed. Not caked up, guys. I don't have a big bakery. Oh, I see. Yeah, exactly. Instead of cake, I want steak and fries. You're gonna put a candle on the steak and fries? I bought cake on my birthday and it is alone in my room. Yeah, you should do that. I always have to buy my own cake for my birthday usually because my parents are like, we don't like to eat cake. And then I buy it and then I'm like, here, everyone eat some cake. And they're like, yay, cake. And I'm like, I thought you didn't like cake. I mean, they're just eating it because they want to celebrate. But still, at least I get the rest. More cake for me. I like cake. I like steak. No, I just eat the steak. I see. I like steak too. Steak fries sound good. Maybe I could do that for... Not this dinner. Not today, I mean. Eventually. Steak cake. Steak cake? Wow. Steak cake makes me think of Ron Swanson from Parks and Rec. Steak cake. Just a cake made of steak? Or a steak made of cake? the layers of steak in the shape of a cake? Or is it like steak and then mashed potato and then more steak and then more mashed potato? Like a layer. You know how like you put cream in the cake, but you put the mashed potato. That could be good. I have some food experiments to try. Are you gonna make like the steak cake with the mashed potatoes? Report back on the steak cake. How many steaks do you have? You gonna cook up like 3 steaks and make steak cake? I mean, potentially you could take one big steak and then cut it up and then do the mashed potato thing. It'll probably just all taste kind of mushy and potatoey. Probably. That is a valuable knowledge. Yoko does all the experiments for us that were too uncomfortable to try. Steak cakes. Steaks. You probably use some thin sliced steak layered with mashed potatoes, onions, and peppers. Couple of oh, I have no idea what you said, but I hope it will taste good. Yes, Yoko. I hope it will taste so tasty, so good. He's signing off. Alright, see you, Wukish. Thank you for coming, Wukish. Oh, juice is a gravy made from it. I see. Delicious gravy from the meat sauce. Meat sauce. I'm hungry now. Everyone was hungry. That's Wukish. Yeah, that was Wukish. Everyone username is annoying. Everyone username is annoying. Unfortunately, I don't think we can. Everyone's hungry. Everyone want to go and get something to eat? Go get something to eat? Have a little snackers? Snackaroonies? Snickers. Isn't that what they say? Like, you're not you when you don't have sneaker. And you eat the sneaker, and then you go from angry, then you're like happy, angry. Brad, feed me. No! Eat your own food. You're not you when you're hungry. Eat the sneakers. Exactly, that's it. Angry, happy. I'm doing that with my ex-wife. Angry. You want blood? I do not have blood for you, ma'am. No blood. What kind of food? Any food. Just go get food. Food good. Good food. Get a tasty. What kind of vampire? Oh, I see. What kind of vampire are you, Mao? What are you? I don't remember what I get in. Wasn't it Salubri? Didn't you get like Salubri or something? Basically the one that everyone pushes around. The nice one. Yeah, you got Hufflepuff. You got the Hufflepuff of vampires. You become Hufflepuff. We're the Hufflepuff of vampires. You guys are the Hufflepuff? It's weird because I'm a Slytherin. Are you sure you're a Slytherin? Sure. Okay. We're not ending just yet. I'm just gonna tell you. I'm gonna announce again. Next week, this week we have no more streams. Do not have streams. This week no more streams, but next week when we do the schedule, it will start at 8 p.m. which means it will be an hour later than when this stream started, basically. So this stream is 7 p.m. but next stream next week we will start at 8 p.m. And then just to take note, next week I can also only stream in the beginning of the weeks. Because next weekend, not this weekend. Next weekend I'm going back home for some events. So next weekend I won't be around. But I will be around the beginning of the week and I'll do the stream. I'll probably play the Vampire the Masquerade game that we did manage to do today. And theorizing and stuff like that. Next week is American next week. Oh my gosh, you're gonna have a good time. You're gonna have American times, eat the turkeys. Hope family events are good. Yeah. I get to see my dog. And okay, let us actually raid for once, and I know exactly who to raid. I know exactly who to go to. I know she's live. Where is she? There she is. Rika is playing Undertale. Wait, it's no. Rika is playing Undertale. Wait. Which one is her actual live stream? Rika is playing Undertale, right? Pretty sure Rika is playing Undertale. Let me just double check. The Rika. Yeah, the Rika. Let me just double check. Yeah, she is live. Oh yeah, she's fighting Undyne right now. Alright, let's go. Let's go to Rika. Alright. See you guys there. Bye-bye.